quality goods and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel old, older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief. And it didn't happen in an operating room. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon, Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea's back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. So don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation free. Call now, 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
Israel, a hot topic right now. Hi, it's Chris Stigall. You know, so many opinions around Israel, emotions. I can understand why it feels hard to know where to start. I like to start with the Bible. Scripture tells us, I will bless those who bless you. And that's not just a comforting promise, it's a clear calling from God. So today, with anti-Semitism on the rise, that calling is more urgent than ever. At a time when Jewish communities are experiencing more hostility, more threats, and more violence than ever, Christians have a powerful opportunity to respond with God's love, to say, you're not alone. When Christians choose to bless Israel, we're not entering into some political issue. We're honoring the root of our faith and standing against hatred. Supporting Israel is more than a belief. It's a biblical mandate. And by partnering with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, you can push back against the darkness and be a light to God's people. Learn how you can bless Israel at ifcj.org. Live the word. Answer the call. ifcj.org.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be very cold with some sunshine peeking through. The high will reach 24 degrees. Tonight, expect overcast skies and cold temperatures. There will be on and off snow later on with accumulation of a coating to an inch. The low will be around 21 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So it's election day, primary election day in Illinois. Polls open in about 42 and a half minutes, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So plan accordingly if you have not already voted or already planned accordingly, for that matter. Your closing arguments for the candidates of your choice in particular races of your interest. Happy to hear them. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. I'll start, and we'll start at the top, governor's race. Anybody who listens to this show knows that I'm backing and working for Ted Dabrowski, hoping to see him cross the finish line first this evening. And this is obviously the key race. Senate's important. Other races are important. But you need a standard bearer at the top that provides some definition for the party and establishes credibility or doesn't establish credibility for the party, because that cascades down ballot, doesn't it? So let's start there. And there was a late endorsement yesterday that was interesting, and it went to Ted Dabrowski. Zoe Lee of Chicago Flips Red. You know, this is the group of, group led by black women in Chicago who have taken a very vocal stance against BLM Brandon and Jelly Belly. Showed up to city council meetings to excoriate BLM Brandon and all sorts of other alderhumans on a policy basis. They are speaking substance. And it's great because it's showing an expansion of interest in an alternative party within the black community in Chicago. And, as people who follow this stuff know, the Republican candidate statewide still needs to poll in the ballpark of 20% of the vote in Chicago to make the rest of the numbers work statewide, particularly if you're not piling up the sorts of numbers in the suburbs that Republicans used to once upon a time, which hasn't been the case for some time. So the more energy you can get in the city, the more support from unusual coalition partners, the better. Here's what Zoe Lee had to say about the governor's race.
I am personally endorsing Ted Dabrowski because from the moment he announced, I believed he was the right person to run for governor. His work with WirePoints and his dedication to exposing the failures of a broken system, especially one that is setting our children back, made it clear that he understands what's at stake and what it will take to fix it. For our kids to grow and prosper in this beautiful state, we need leaders who recognize the crisis we are in and who have the real solutions. Ted brings something new and refreshing. He has a calm, steady presence, but also the strength to act decisively when it matters.
Good observations, Zoe Lee, some of the same ones that I've argued on behalf of on this program, that Ted is not, sort of a WWE-oriented candidate. Does not mean that he is not a fighter. Because he is not over the top does not mean he does not have the tenacity to take on these fights. And he combines a tenacity with the smarts, which is, a nice tandem, as it turns out. Zoe Lee also, I think, nicely crystallized some of the seemingly intractable problems in Illinois writ large. And she sort of twinned public education, and public safety.
We are spending nearly $30,000 per child on public education, yet too many of our kids are graduating unable to read or write at grade level. They are being told that if they don't get a job, it's because of racism, while at the same time, 70% of our kids lack the basic skills required for those jobs. They are being taught ideologies that do not prepare them to succeed in the richest nation in the world. We also have a broken illegal immigration system that the Democratic Party refuses to address. Under the Biden-Harris administration, the situation spiraled out of control. Chicago spent $2.2 billion on illegal immigration, while residents like myself and Jessica Jackson were begging for help as properties were being stolen in South Shore, Auburn Grisham, Inglewood, West Garfield Park, and now creeping into Pilsen and Humboldt Park. I'm hearing rural areas may be next if Illinois doesn't change leadership at the top.
And there are center-cut issues in a general election that have much broader appeal than the Democrat power structure in the state of Illinois would like to acknowledge. $2.2 billion to be a sanctuary state, to be a quote-unquote welcoming state, to send a clarion call the world over for people to come to Illinois and live off legal citizens who reside in Illinois. That's a good one. Broad appeal. This is something that is a vulnerability, even in Illinois, for the left. And then, of course, the K through 12 government school systems, particularly in Chicago, but not limited to Chicago, are a catastrophe by any measurement, particularly when you start comparing the inputs to the outputs. So it's nice to hear that crystallization. And the other thing she mentioned, too, just on the spend side, well, the tax side, the spend side for government, is the confiscatory property tax. As she mentioned, homes being taken. She's talking about property taxes. And lest we forget that little tea party they had in West Garfield Park, torching property tax bills when they came out in December. Don't think that has been forgotten, not by people who are suffering under the weight of property taxes that destroy, if not completely eliminate, their property values. Zoe Lee and the Chicago Flips Red Gals also have the drop on Jelly Belly.
Governor Pritzker has used his wealth to maintain power, and the average Illinoisan has paid the price. During COVID, he kept Illinois residents locked down while his own family traveled to states that remained open. We lost businesses, people, homes, and lives. Then comes the illegal immigration crisis, fueled by political decisions and denial. The consequences are everywhere. Cities like Harvey are broke. Communities like Flossmoor can't collect property tax revenue. Property taxes are rising in vulnerable areas. Public safety has deteriorated. The state refused federal help for the National Guard. Elected officials enjoy taxpayer-funded police details while residents face daily danger. The gang prevention money coming from the federal government is not being used to prevent anything. Death, trauma, and a culture of no accountability have kept the political machine in power.
And
Ted Dabrowski is ready to get the job done, and I will be right there to ensure it happens. All hands on deck.
all hands on deck, 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text to comment on the governor's race or any other race. Now, again, there's only about 1 in 5 seats that are up for a vote that have a primary. So in many places, voting, particularly in a Republican primary, you're going to have a pretty limited ballot. Pretty limited ballot. But, boy, that would be fun to see Ted and the Chicago Flips Red Gals venturing out to places like Hinsdale and Naperville, Glen Ellen, to shame some of those raffles in the burbs. Tell them what time it is. Tell them that you think you're helping us. You're not helping us. Fun dynamic. And that's the sort of asymmetrical approach Dabrowski will need to take in order to, in order to have a chance for victory in November. But as I've argued very persuasively, if I may, he is the only candidate with the profile that presents an opportunity to win in November. And it's not close. Not close. So if you're interested in at least putting in a credible fight and being proud of a nominee for a governor such that win or lose, you have something upon which to build because you put a quality team on the field, then Dabrowski is your candidate, and all of the others fail to reach that threshold. And as I said, they are not close. Tom Morrison, former state legislator from Palatine, one of the most principally conservative members of the General Assembly when he was there. He was at a press conference that Ted had yesterday with supporters from around the state because he's the only candidate who's built this broad coalition that includes the conservative grassroots, that includes opinion leaders and civic leaders from up and down and east to west in Illinois. And this is what Morrison had to say.
My name is Tom Morrison. I was a 6-term state representative from Northwest Cook County, a suburban seat, which we know is going to be the key to winning this election, both tomorrow, March 17th, but also in November. And that's why I'm up here proudly supporting Ted Dabrowski for governor. We need to elect someone to be our nominee who can actually beat J.B. Pritzker. And when you look at the stage, you look at the coalition that he has put together, it consists of people on the policy side, people, different ethnicities, from the business community, up and down the state, from the city to the suburbs, all the way downstate. Ted has a very strong coalition. I think he's our best candidate who can actually beat J.B. Pritzker. He knows the issues. We've been friends for about 15 years when I first took office down in Springfield, and Ted knows policy on A to Z issues. And so that's why I'm proud to stand with him, to endorse him. I'm just encouraging everyone, come out to vote. There is no excuse why you should sit this out. Who our nominee is really, really matters. And so please come out, support Ted Dabrowski, and then let's take back this state. Let's get Illinois on the path where we should be come November. But we won't get there without Ted as our nominee.
A text from 312, is Ted going to lean into his Hispanic background? Yeah. He has even in the primary, sort of part of his introduction, but that's obviously going to need to be broadened so people get a familiarity with him were he to be the nominee. And again, he is fluent in Spanish. So when we're doing ads on Spanish television stations, he's speaking Spanish. When he's doing interviews on Univision or Telemundo, he's speaking Spanish. So there's definitely a connection there. And it's the immigrant story, too, which in part insulates him from the typical, phobia-ism criticisms from the left. His dad's from Poland. His mom's from Ecuador, for those who don't know. And so his story is a story of legal immigration and making your way in America. And that's what his family did, and that's what he and his family have done now. And so it's a great story. But it also is a great story because he is taking a hardline position on repealing sanctuary state, such that he will follow the Jelly Belly model, as he has said on the trail, and issue an executive order to repeal it and shut everything down. I mean, go to the mat, which is what you have to do to extract concessions, assuming that the legislature remains neo-Marxist supermajorities, which is a fair and relatively safe assumption. Be very difficult. But he's at least going to force the debate, not just take a rhetorical position and wave the flag and say, well, we can't do anything until we have the numbers. No, we can put in the fight. We can focus the public's attention on this. We can go chapter and verse, just like you heard a little bit from Zoe Lee, with respect to the costs imposed, both economic as well as in terms of human lives. Think angel families like Joe Abrahams. So there's a lot more that can be done than you've seen done from the Republican Party thus far, and that requires leadership at the gubernatorial level. All right, we'll take more of your call. We'll take some of your calls, I should say. I'll talk a little bit more about this because I want to fold in something remarkable that came from the DuPage County clerk with respect to voting today. That's what we'll do at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 16 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Today is Election Day. The polls open in about a half an hour at 6 a.m. They'll close at 7 p.m. Central. Voters who are in line at 7 o'clock will still be allowed to vote. So far, the suburbs have a stronger early voting turnout than the city because of several open congressional seats. Board of Election spokesperson Max Beaver says traditionally people like to vote on Election Day, but so far the early voting numbers in the city are encouraging but not record-breaking. He added that if the citywide turnout can reach 30%, that would be a better trend than what we've seen in recent primaries. A suspect is in custody following a deadly stabbing in northwest Indiana. Authorities say they've received a 911 call from a woman who had said that she and her husband were being stabbed. A man was found dead at the scene while his wife was taken to a hospital in Crown Point in critical condition. Officers reportedly were met by the suspect when they arrived on the scene. He was taken into custody and charges are pending. This report is sponsored by 1-800-TRUCK-WRECK. If you're hit by any kind of a truck, call 1-800-TRUCK-WRECK. They'll send out their rapid response team to canvass the area, collect all the evidence, especially the video evidence, but call them from the scene. 1-800-TRUCK-WRECK. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
Alex Marlow does see a legit scandal.
I'm kind of amazed by this scandal that has rocked the Department of Homeland Security. Kristi Noem is out. I saw this. I was aware of it, but I have to admit, and this is a big admission, I did not do a deep dive on it. And I have in the last 24 hours, and it is shocking. It is a legitimate scandal.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
When you build a home for the next chapter of your life, you're not just choosing floor plans, finishes, and paint colors. You're making a decision about where your life continues after all the years you've worked so hard. At Steiner Homes, we understand that because we're a family business that's been building custom homes in Northwest Indiana for over 30 years. And for us, this isn't just a business, it's a calling. Every Steiner home is built with intention. No shortcuts, no compromises. Just craftsmanship you can see and quality you can feel. There's a reason more empty nesters are choosing Indiana. Lower taxes mean your money goes further. Safer communities mean real peace of mind. It's a place where neighbors still wave, families flourish, and you can finally put down roots that feel right. From the very first sketch to the final walkthrough, we treat every home like it's our own family moving in. If you're ready to build a home and right-size your life in a smarter, safer place, start with people who truly care. Steiner Homes of Northwest Indiana. Love where you live. Learn more at steinerhomesltd.com.
Hey, come here. You know the password? It's me, Vito, from Vito's Vault, Chicago's new Roaring Twenties dinner theater speakeasy. Give the password at the door, and you'll be transported back to 1929. You get a delicious dinner, bootleg hooch, followed by a 90-minute vaudeville-style show with dancing dolls and hilarious comedy bits. It's great for date night, birthdays, anniversaries, retirements, bachelorette parties, corporate parties, any kind of party. You'll have a bang-up time. So come join me and my gang of mugs and dolls at Vito's Vault. For tickets, go to vitosvault.com.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Amazon Business empowers leaders with smart business buying tools, leaving time to focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future at AmazonBusiness.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be very cold with some sunshine peeking through. The high will reach 24. Tonight, expect overcast skies and cold temperatures with intermittent snow later on, accumulating between a coating to an inch. The low will be around 21. Tomorrow morning may see a few flurries, but overall it will be mostly cloudy and not as chilly with a high of 42. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, talking about today's primary election. See if we can galvanize people to express any interest, participate. Sigh. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. I was remarking to a friend the other day the slide in the suburbs, as I've talked about in this show before, but I suppose it bears repeating on this election day. In 1998, George Ryan got 72% of the vote against Glenn Pochard in DuPage County. A decade later, Barack Obama was winning DuPage County, and so was Pat Quinn over Bill Brady in 2010. The Tea Party year. That slide was the fault, as much the fault of Republicans as any great strategic brilliance from the Neo-Marxist Party. Well, what was the machine still back then, now the Neo-Marxist Party. And a decade after that, complete control of DuPage County was solidified by that Neo-Marxist Party, which is what it is today. installing individuals like Jean Kasmarek, who is the DuPage County clerk. And in advance of today's primary election, she posted a video message with a hotline, as well as alternative polling places for anyone who feels unsafe. You know, because they're here illegally.
Hi, I'm Jean Kasmarek, DuPage County Clerk, with important voting information about the 2026 primary election. In DuPage County, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE, will not be allowed to interfere with DuPage County elections in any way. It is a federal crime for the military or federal agents to interfere in elections or intimidate voters. It is a crime punishable by up to 5 years in prison to deploy federal troops or armed men to any locations where voting is taking place or elections are being held. Those crimes will not be tolerated in DuPage County, not on my watch. My office has set up a dedicated phone line for the community to report any potential ICE deployments at any Election Day polling places.
All right, I sure on notice Jean Kasmarek is manning the DuPage County Clerk's office, and no federal crime on my watch. I mean, the Raffles in DuPage County. Aren't you embarrassed? Aren't you embarrassed in DuPage County? Don't you feel ashamed? I do. I'm not there anymore, but I'm from Wheaton. How embarrassing to allow this to happen on our collective watches over the last 2 decades. Not on my watch. These mealy-mouthed goofs. And she barely qualifies as a useful idiot for the neo-Marxists. Good Lord. Maybe you should do something about it. I saw an email this morning from DuPage County Republican Party, which has more inspired leadership under Kevin Coyne than it's had in a while. Unfortunately, it had to hit rock bottom first. We're looking for volunteers today. I know some people here, I know it's not particularly balmy outside, but I know some people listening to this show are retired. They're not on their way to work. No, otherwise you can just be won over by Jean Kasmarek, who's standing up to ICE. Be governed by the ghastly housewives of Hinsdale. Is that how you want to live out the rest of your days? Or how many ever days you have left in DuPage? Good grief. Now you know why we say victory comes through the suburbs? And why Ted is the essential candidate, because he actually has the ability to deal with and appeal to those voters. And he's not going to mince words about it. I mean, my reaction when I saw this video over the weekend, I posted on X. Yeah, how about an abundance of caution? And to keep people safe and to protect our neighbors and to combat xenophobia and to stop racism and to save our democracy. Jean Kasmarek just fills out all the ballots for anyone on the pristine DuPage County voter rolls who doesn't show up to vote. Because we know how pristine the voter rolls are in Illinois writ large, and that certainly includes the collar counties, which almost all have slid towards Gomorrah in the last decade or two. Tom in Volo.
Yeah, I haven't really heard a debate by any of these candidates on any channel.
We had one on this channel.
I'm usually in the truck, and I haven't heard it. I drive a concrete truck, so I got the radio on all day. Okay. What someone needs to do is this Ted Dabrowski, is he pro Second Amendment? What does he say about all of these acts that they've got, like the Safety Act? Is he going to repeal that? Is he going to repeal the gun bans and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And whoever the candidate is, they need to get out with a movie camera, and they need to go show and I watch, because all we're building now is data centers, and they're going to look like windmill farms here. There's so many of them. And if you drive down Lake Cook Road, Dundee Road, I'm talking Northbrook, Deerfield, look at all the empty office space. These are all companies that are leaving here. And if people don't realize giving tax breaks to corporations to bring their businesses here brings more jobs, which creates more tax revenue for people instead of chasing them out of here.
Thanks for the call, Tom. Well, just to answer your question, so, yeah, I mean, Ted is on record. Eliminate the FOID card, repeal Jelly Bellies, phony baloney, sport rifle ban, arbitrary sport rifle ban. Yeah, all that stuff, 100%. We've done, I know, haven't had the spend we've had in other years, but he's got commercials out and that we're running. I mentioned repeal the sanctuary state measure, as well as, repeal SAFE-T Act. I mean, he along with me back in 2022, were some of the first people, along with James Glasgow, the Will County State's attorney, who were pillaring the SAFE-T Act and predicting exactly what has come to pass, even after it was amended. Of course, after Pritzker argued no amendments were needed during the election, and then quickly moved to amend it after the 2022 election. But it doesn't matter. It's still a complete public safety catastrophe. And this is what I was saying before. You have to go to the mat on the SAFE-T Act and sanctuary state, because they are destroying Illinois in terms of any semblance of law and order and public safety. And it's not limited to the city of Chicago or Cook County either. Dave in Crystal Lake.
Yeah, good morning. I was just curious who you like for the Senate race on the Republican side, and then if you have any other thoughts on McHenry County.
Thanks for the call, Dave. Don Tracy for Senate. Don Tracy's a credible Republican senatorial candidate. This Jeannie Evans woman who's aligned with Darren Bailey, who hasn't, I don't know, has she voted in a Republican primary? She's just came out of nowhere, burst on the scene. Don't know much about her, but her judgment clearly is lacking. So, yeah, I mean, I know Don. Don's again, he's a room temperature guy, but he's a solid conservative on these issues, on these core issues that we're talking about, and those core issues at the federal level. Yeah, Don Tracy's the play for Senate. Ron, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan. And you're absolutely correct. I'm looking forward to getting out to vote for Ted, Don, and Christian Maxwell in 1st Congressional District. But Dan, when I think about Ted, I remember the day that he announced on your show that he was running. And this would impress me. He said, I cannot continue to come on the airways, talk about these issues and policies that affect the state and not do something about it. And he did the ultimate. He decided to run the inaudible. But see, not only did he articulate the issues, he offered good solutions. And another thing I liked about him, I would hear him on Black Talk Radio this morning. The host said, wow, I loved him. Very consistent, very clear on his positions. So I just am impressed with him, and I think we have a chance. And it's our best chance to win the general. It's a big election, and I appreciate your support for him. We got a chance. Have a good day, Dan.
Thanks for the call, Ron. Appreciate it. And by the way, Ted's going to be on the show in the 7 o'clock hour, 7:30. And the other candidates have been invited on, including Darren Bailey. And you'll remember in 2022, for those, because there's some, ankle biters out there that are critical of me. I mean, that's fine. That comes with the territory. It doesn't bother me, but I'll just address it. In 2022, when I was supporting Darren Bailey through an independent expenditure PAC in the primary, all the candidates were invited to come on this show too, and all of them did except for Richard Irvin. All were invited. Why does baloney resist the grinder, as William F. Buckley might say? Well, you know why. So Darren Bailey was happy to come on the show when he had my backing, and not so courageous when he doesn't. In addition to his non-participation in debates and so forth, his Rose Garden strategy. If you think that living off of $60 million worth of name ID from 4 years ago is what qualifies somebody to be the Republican nominee for governor again, and you think that will have currency in a general election against a billionaire, then you don't know anything about electoral politics. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in the Republican primary electorate who don't know much about politics, as they have consistently demonstrated with the choices we have collectively made over many cycles. Isn't that right? So we'll see. We'll see tonight. Frank, Board of Trade.
Why do the Republicans allow themselves to be pilloried on this ICE issue when the Obama deportations were 2,791,000? Why is this not the first words out of their mouth?
Okay, thanks for the call, Frank. I mean, that certainly provides some balance, and it's a bit of a jujitsu move with the open borders crowd. That's true, but at the end of the day, you have to make the case for what you want to do now with an eye towards the future. And I don't think that Republicans should be pilloried by any of it. I think they should be on offense all the time on it, the way that Tom Homan is. You want to see how to handle this issue? Just go watch Tom Homan. Tom Homan has it exactly right. You cannot, and I mean, I agree with the implied point that you cannot give any quarter to these hysterics. Like, is going to stand up to ICE. She's not going to have it on her watch. Yeah, she's real scary, real intimidating. Put it between people's eyes. We also have people that have exhibited great courage and exemplary civic duty, like Joe Abraham, who's out there on behalf of his deceased daughter, making the case from the perspective of a guy who's not political, but has been politicized by the lawlessness in Illinois. So go tell it to Joe Abraham. All of these 60s refugees with their idiotic folk songs and their participation or support for political violence as the means to their desired political ends. That's another aspect of the conversation that needs to be put between people's eyes. You believe in political violence? You think that's a legitimate way to express yourself? Well, take a look at what you're platforming. Chris, Rogers Park.
Hey, Dan, unfortunately, the point of that ad was the weakness that she was portraying. Okay, that kind of stuff isn't about her making a stand and saying, I'm going to protect you against ICE. It's about sounding scared, weak, that there's something scary out there to rile up and activate the people that live all around me in this neighborhood in Rogers Park that are telling my aldermen and the cops that they don't want them around because the cops are the ones that are scary. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so the thing that worries me about Ted and the opportunity I see with him that I don't know how to take advantage of, but I think he's got to do it and find a way, is he's got this Hispanic background. He's actually from a family of immigrants and Hispanic immigrants at that. And then you got J.B. Pritzker.
Well, Hispanic.
By the way,
South American and Polish, but yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Mom's from Ecuador.
Close enough.
Yeah.
But put him against J.B. Pritzker, billionaire, white guy, but he's an incredible actor. And he'll get on TV and he'll empathize and make you think that he cares about you and he's going to protect you from the scary ICE people and all this stuff. when Ted is actually the guy that comes from an immigrant family and has built a business. It can tap into the hopes and dreams of these people.
Yeah.
He needs some emotion or he's going to have a problem.
Thanks for the call, Chris. I mean, look, I agree. I mean, there's always room for improvement. And, Ted's a first-time candidate. There's definitely a learning curve doing this as somebody who did it. Different people have different attributes and different weaknesses. I think Ted's room temperature demeanor is generally a great attribute because it's very difficult to, turn Ted into some scary, raving lunatic, right-wing extremist. I mean, he's just not. It's just that's going to be a hard sell. But in terms of what you're saying about unmasking Pritzker for the capricious, cynical, principle-free hack that he is, yeah, that's going to be a big job. Pun intended. Phil in Maryville.
Hey, morning. Yeah, that lady from DuPage, it sounds like she takes advantage of the recreational marijuana. And
yeah.
I think that Illinois, I hate to be a downer, Illinois is going downhill. I moved out. All this kind of center-left people are moving out. Conservatives, definitely. Businesses. I think it's a lost cause, really. Move out, move to Indiana, and vote red. That's what I did.
Well, thanks for the call, Phil. That's certainly an option. Although I would just say that, again, something I mentioned, I think, last week, political victories and defeats are by their nature temporary. Now, temporary can encompass a sizable period of time. But that's something that Ed Follner, the former head of the Heritage Foundation, was fond of saying. He's right. Speaking of Indiana, just a reminder, before Mitch Daniels arrived on the scene in 2002, Indiana had 2 decades worth of Dem governors. Didn't it? It did. So sometimes you need an inflection point that turns things around. People always say, well, you always see states go from red to blue, rarely blue to red. Indiana's a pretty good example of going the other direction. And you just needed that inflection point to get somebody competent in there who made Indiana a great success story. And then subsequent governors and legislators built upon it. It can go the other way. I mean, Pete Wilson was governor of California in the mid-'90s. And you haven't seen Republicans sniffing a statewide office in California since about the late 90s, which is not terribly dissimilar to the situation in Illinois or New York, for that matter. So, things are a lost cause until they're not, until somebody or somebody's come along and present something qualitatively different, particularly when things are not going well and people don't believe they're going well. And that's certainly the case here. Don't forget, a majority of Illinoisans think the state is on the wrong track. I'm talking about general election electorate. It's clearly I'm not, pushing sunshine here. I'm not a mindless cheerleader. Clearly, it's an underdog race. All of them are. But, of course, it's an underdog race. When you've had the run of the place for as long as they had, the opposition is the underdog. Just like the opposition was the underdog when Republicans held the governorship for 25 years until 2002, when George Ryan imploded and Rod Blagojevich came along. So, I just don't get to, that there's sort of a, things are hopeless can be sort of a cop-out for inaction. Now, you want to, chart a better life for yourself in Indiana or Florida for that matter. I don't begrudge you. But I'm just saying the idea that what is today is immovable is not true. Mike in Yorkville.
Good morning, Dan. What Phil had mentioned, you start looking at it, it's not even the sense of, like you said, the governorship that was in Indiana, but we're also dealing with a legislature that's in Illinois that is basically a super majority. And what Phil, I believe, is also looking at are the probabilities. You start adding up everything that's an issue, such as pension liabilities, debt ratio, many other things, and companies that have left. He's looking at a probability where it's not the sense we might be able to move, the mark a little bit here and there, but ultimately, look at the 10-year plan of what Illinois would be.
Thanks for the call, Mike. We're up against the clock. Look, I get it. I got it. But you put a marker down in the suburbs, and then you can start to turn suburban legislative seats, too. That's got to be the program. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Another Iranian leader taken out. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Top Iranian official Ali Larijani is dead.
Killed in an Israeli airstrike overnight.
This was probably the most significant strike, you could describe it, in the past week and a half, as the Israelis and the Americans are going after the structure of Iran's regime.
Fox's Trey Yingst is in Tel Aviv.
Larijani was largely considered the de facto leader in the aftermath of the killing of Iran's former supreme leader, and uncertain questions about Mojtaba Khamenei, the man who was elected to be the next supreme leader. Larijani was serving as the secretary to Iran's Supreme National Security Council.
Another Israeli strike also took out a general who was the head of an Iranian militia involved in the deadly crackdown on protests that suppressed an uprising in Iran a few months ago, killing thousands of civilians. U.S. military also continues to hit targets in Iran on the 18th day of the conflict. President Trump was asked, when will it end?
It'll be wrapped up soon. We're going to have a much safer world.
As Iran continues to counterattack, rockets and drones were launched at the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. One hit the compound in Baghdad. An oil facility also hit in the United Arab Emirates. As oil shipping remains held up in the region, oil prices rising about 3% this morning, and the price at the gas pump is up another 8 cents today. There's also death and destruction in Afghanistan. In a different conflict, the Afghan government says at least 400 people were killed in a strike on a hospital in the capital.
A spokesman for Pakistan's prime minister denies the military targeted a drug rehabilitation hospital in Kabul, Afghanistan, and says no civilian sites were hit, just military targets. There is video of destruction at the hospital and the emergency response, but no independent verification of casualty numbers. Fighting escalated last month after Afghanistan launched cross-border attacks in response to Pakistani airstrikes. Pakistan has long accused Afghanistan of supporting militants responsible for terrorist attacks.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 16 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. It's Election Day here in Chicago. The polls are now open. If you haven't yet voted, you have until 7 p.m. when the polls close. A fire on Monday has left one person injured. According to reports, a firefighter battling the blaze was transported to an area hospital in serious to critical condition with burns throughout his body after he fell from the first floor to the basement. Fire officials say he was quickly rescued and transported to the hospital for treatment. Over 100 firefighters battled that blaze, which broke out around 11:30 Monday morning at an apartment complex in the Rogers Park neighborhood. Cause of that blaze is under investigation. Chicago business owners say bike lanes and concrete barriers are driving customers away. Jim Talamonte reports.
One after another, business owners, operators, and workers addressed the City Council's Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety. Evelyn Almanza said her mother owns a hair salon. Almanza said business owners and community members are frustrated with bike lanes on Archer Avenue.
Our customers don't have places to park and end up leaving when trying to access our services. Many businesses, including my mom's, are facing a decrease in revenue.
Bakery owner Juan Castro said the bike lanes are hurting his business and others in the neighborhood.
Why would I want to keep my business here knowing that I can go somewhere else and have a better access? You're making people not want to live in Brighton Park.
Residents said reducing Archer from 4 lanes to 2 caused traffic backups and obstructed emergency vehicles. I'm Chip Talamonte.
This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings wonders if we'll see support.
Iran has fired ballistic missiles into a German military base in Jordan. So Iran continues to fire at its neighbors. Something I've been wondering, are we having any expectation that other countries are going to eventually get fed up with this and join in the military attacks against Iran?
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Aren't you curious how the Bible became translated into the English language? Calvary Baptist Church of Tinley Park invites you to a special public viewing of Biblical Antiquity, a remarkable collection presented by evangelist Monte Watts Jr. Explore over 400 rare Bibles and ancient texts and see firsthand how Scripture has been preserved and translated through the centuries. Join us tonight through the 18th for our 2026 Revival and Bible Collection event. For details, visit CalvaryBaptistTinley.com. We look forward to welcoming you.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Shh, here he comes. Surprise! The people above your catering business are doing major construction, and the drilling is only during business hours. It's so loud.
Progressive knows small business owners usually don't like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting personalized discounts on a commercial auto quote with Progressive.
Also, that isn't powdered sugar on the floor. It's plaster from your ceiling.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-809-7171. That's 800-809-7171.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
Have you seen my husband?
No.
My husband is hot.
Okay.
And he just keeps getting hotter and hotter.
I'm sorry to hear that.
What?
But I have good news.
You do?
Hasselus Mattress is home to a variety of cool gel mattresses, including Tempur-Pedic.
No, I mean he's hot.
When he sleeps, I can relate. But our cool gel mattresses sleep an average of 10 degrees cooler than traditional mattresses. So he'll be cool as a cucumber.
Okay, but...
And right now, get 48 months interest-free financing on Tempur-Pedic with approved credit.
Well, that's great, but...
Plus, free next-day delivery and setup, free removal of your old mattress, and a $300 MasterCard gift card with your new Tempur-Pedic.
Hold on. You're saying I can cool down with a new Tempur-Pedic with no interest for 48 months and a $300 gift card?
What do you think?
I think that's pretty hot.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Watch out for a crash on the eastbound side of 80. It's blocking the exit ramp to get onto the southbound side of 57, so that will slow you down. 14 minutes both ways on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, so you got 18 in, 28 out on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. About 15 minutes in both directions on the Ike from Wolf to the Old Post Office, and the Stevenson is 25 in, 22 out from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. You got 13 minutes inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, just 10 on the outbound side. Stop Stop and go, though, on the Bishop Ford inbound between 115th Street and the Dan Ryan, and already stop and go northbound Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be very cold with some sunshine peeking through. The high will reach 24. Tonight, expect overcast skies and cold temperatures with intermittent snow later on, accumulating between a coating to an inch. The low will be around 21. Tomorrow morning may see a few flurries, but overall it will be mostly cloudy and not as chilly with a high of 42. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. The Dem Socialist shutdown of DHS, or at least the parts of DHS, not including ICE, ironically, but including TSA, starting to get a bit chippy, starting to see long security lines at airports in major cities, including Houston and New Orleans, 3-hour waits. That's not going to sit well with travelers. You can thank a Democrat near you. Frustrated travelers should know who's to blame, as the Wall Street Journal opined. Pagliacci, Senator Chuck Schumer. Democrats have refused to fund the Department of Homeland Security, producing a shutdown that has dragged on for a month. TSA airport screeners are calling out of work since they aren't getting paid. Now, I know that the headlines, 300 TSA agents have quit. Well, okay. What I always do, and the D.C. press corps doesn't. 300 out of how many? Can you give us some context, some proportionality? Because 300 out of 600, that would be a big deal. 300 out of 50,000, less of a big deal. However, some are not necessarily quitting, but they are calling off work, and the absenteeism becomes a problem. For example, at Houston's Hobby Airport, 53% of officers called off work March 8th, 47% calling out the following day. Nationwide, the absentee rate on March 6th was 8%. But of course, it's spiking in some other areas, and you know where it's spiking because you're seeing reports on those 2 and 3 and 4-hour waits to get through security. The experience at most commercial airports is taxing enough without having to get there 4 hours early to make sure you don't miss your flight. You know what I'm saying? I think you do, and guess what? So do airline CEOs, because they're getting annoyed. This week, airline CEOs posted an open letter to Congress that was published in the Bezos Post. This is simply unacceptable. It's difficult, if not impossible, to put food on the table, to put gas in the car, and to pay rent when you're not getting paid. Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, TSA agents don't have a bad deal, but it's not like many of them are not living paycheck to paycheck like most Americans. The CEOs, and by the way, when I say airline CEOs, I'm talking about American, Alaska Air, Delta, FedEx, JetBlue, Southwest, United, UPS, and Airlines for America, trade group. So it's the players. There are very few issues upon which 9 of 10 Americans agree. However, in recent polling, 93% of your constituents across the country supported paying federal aviation workers during government shutdowns. Furthermore, 88% of Americans said long lines and extended wait times at airport security checkpoints are likely to be repeated if TSA officers continue to work without pay during future shutdowns. Yes, no kidding. Once again, air travel is the political football amid another government shutdown. TSA officers just received $0 paychecks. That is simply unacceptable. And they go on to add, with spring break travel in full swing, FIFA World Cup 2026 right around the corner. Well, I don't really care if people can't get to that. And celebrations for America's 250th birthday throughout the year, the stakes are especially high. U.S. Airlines are expecting 171 million passengers this spring season, a new record. But too many travelers are having to wait in extraordinarily long and painfully slow lines at checkpoints. Wait times of 2, 3, and even 4 hours have been reported. Airlines are doing everything we can to mitigate disruption by holding flights for late passengers and rebooking others. It's past time for the government to make sure that TSA officers, U.S. Customs clearance officers at airports, and air traffic controllers are paid for the job that they do. Yes. Well, you know, when... I mean, this is just another story of the Dems using people as the means to their political ends. That's all you are to them. You're spare parts to be used and abused as necessary for their political power aims. Sean Duffy was on with Maria Bartiromo over the weekend, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, for those scoring at home, and said this.
So as you mentioned, TSA agents have missed a partial payment. They just missed a full payment. These are men and women who don't make a lot of money. And so some of them are making choices to go, you know, whether they're driving Uber or, you know, waiting tables. They have to put food on their family's table. And in these places where this is happening, you're seeing really long lines, whether they're 1 hour, 3 to 4 hour lines at airports. And I think if you stand in that line, it's one thing, Maria, if you're by yourself, but if you're with some little kids or any kids for 3 or 4 hours, it's horrible. And so you can thank a Democrat who cares more about making sure that the 15 million people that they let into this country under Joe Biden, that we don't have ICE that can actually look across the country, find those radical elements who come into the country without, by the way, without being vetted, find them and deport them. This is what these Democrats want. And so my hope is that Democrats will come to their senses, open up DHS, and then have a negotiation, have a conversation. But in the process, don't hold America hostage to just get what you want.
Yeah, and to the credit of some, very few, but some in the D.C. press corps that have obviously not given very much attention to this because, well, their interest is in serving the interests of Pagliacci, Schumer, and the neo-Marxists inside the Beltway, right? You know, if this were Republicans holding up DHS funding when the nation is effectively at war, where you have story after story every day about people in this country illegally committing crimes, where you have travelers being inconvenienced on the levels that are described by the airline CEOs in that letter I just referenced, well, it would be holy hell. Oh, my God, the callous Republicans. How dare they? How dare they play politics with people's livelihoods and literal lives? We're at war. We have soldiers in harm's way, and they're playing reindeer games inside the Beltway over DHS funding to try to make a point to their rabid base that they're going to stand up and fight to abolish ICE, which is already funded. If anything like that were going on and the parties were reversed, there would be, you know, cries of bloody murder, of course. But, as I said, there are some exceptions. This was a fun moment. My friend Leland Vittert, who's got a show on News Nation, he pressed Suhas Subramaniam, who is a neo-Marxist from Virginia, on the shut down, and it went something like this.
Than they do. But you bring up a good point. I think it's really an important one, that we are at war with Iran right now, and clearly the Iranians are trying to do everything they can to cause us pain and kill Americans. There's indications they've ordered sleeper cell attacks. There's been 4 Islamic terror attacks in 2 weeks, and Democrats have shut down DHS and won't pay TSA because they don't like ICE wearing masks. Is that a good play?
We want to pay TSA. We actually put a bill forward to pay.
No, you don't.
TSA
You want DHS shut down.
For,
you want DHS shut down.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Leland, for cutting him off and just cutting to the chase. Spare me. Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, incredibly, at least made a half-hearted effort with respect to Adam Schiff on this issue. And by the way, I mean, it just hit me the other day. I'm sure somebody else has picked up on this, and I'm late to the dance, but Adam Schiff, if he had glasses, a dead ringer for Mr. Mackey from South Park, especially with that signature pencil neck.
I do have to ask you just finally about this partial government shutdown, DHS not being funded for a month now. Just this week, we saw terror attacks in West Bloomfield, Michigan, in Norfolk, Virginia. This morning, the CEOs of the nation's major airlines and cargo carriers have written a letter to Congress calling for them to end the shutdown, talking about the importance of American security in the airways. Is it responsible for Democrats to hold up DHS funding with the threat of terror attacks looming during this conflict?
No, Kristen, as you know, we offered vote after vote, resolution after resolution, even as recently as this week, to reopen those agencies, to fund them, and the Republicans voted it down.
No,
not okay. Not okay. Yeah, Vittert had it right. No, you don't. No, you don't want to reopen it. Mike in Hammond, Indiana.
Hey, Dan, thanks for my call. Every time we have this budget conflict, it goes on and on. The TSA, maybe not DHS, but TSA should be privatized. Why aren't the airports running this? The fees from the tickets paid to pay these people. Air traffic controllers could almost be AI ran, for God's sake, once this is up and running. The government gets involved, and it's an impediment. It doesn't help anything out. So privatize all this stuff, at least for the airports and traffic controllers.
Thanks for the call, Mike. I completely agree. We did this same dance last year during the quote unquote shutdown. Last year, air traffic controllers were working without pay. I mean, people don't have great short-term memories. But this story just repeats itself again and again. And when you have craven politicians there, which is a redundancy, they're going to use whatever's at their disposal to advance their political interests. And so you see them using this same tactic at their disposal again and again. So take it away. I was opposed to federalizing airport security in the first place back after 9/11. But, now it's totally, the way to insulate them is to spin them off and get them away from the cads in Congress. Totally agree. Spin off the operation of private entities. It frees workers. It frees travelers from this gamesmanship. And same thing with air traffic controllers. I'm not so sure about, completely AI. You're going to need, I want some human supervision in the tower, but I hear what you're saying. Totally agree. Barb in Woodridge.
Good morning, Dan. I just want to say that when you talk about the people who are so worried with their kids waiting in line for 3 hours to get through TSA, aren't these the same people that would think nothing of waiting for 2 hours to get into a ride at Disney World? And the other thing is, remember?
No. They get the speed pass. You need a speed pass. I don't even.
I've got TSA pre-check, so I hope that helps me in a few weeks.
Yeah, maybe.
But also, Sue Dorman Sue Orman for years talked about how we all needed to have a 6-month buffer just in case you got laid off or you were looking for a new job. But these people, they're living on credit cards anyway. How much of a big deal is it that they don't get paid, which they're going to get paid later, for a month of not working? I don't understand this mentality at all, Dan.
Thanks for the call, Barb. Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying. They're going to get paid ultimately. But, I mean, if you're living paycheck to paycheck or you don't have that 6-month buffer that Susie Orman says you should have, I mean, not everybody is so fortunate all the time. But, you enter into an agreement, and the agreement is I'm going to do this amount of work and I'm going to be paid on this schedule. And, $1 today being worth more than $1 tomorrow and so on and so forth. I mean, maybe they should be back paid with interest. But the larger point is that it's just irresponsible to miss payroll, right? That is not the indicia of a properly run organization if you're missing payroll, is it? So I sympathize with people who are being asked to work without pay, on a promise that you'll get back pay. But, so I'm going to spend 35 or 40 hours a week doing my job as a TSA agent, which precludes me from earning money in real time that I need to do things to pay rent and buy groceries, because I'm not getting a special dispensation from my landlord or the grocery store. So, right. We could all be better savers and all that jazz, but you pay people for the work that they do on the schedule that you committed to. I don't think that's unreasonable. Scooter, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan. How are you, sir?
Good.
I'm going to vote tonight after work. I'm going to wear my black ice mask and my mega hat. You think they'll let me vote?
I bet you some left-wing election judges.
I'll bring my ID.
No, they won't ask.
ID.
No, they won't ask for that. Heaven forbid anybody be asked for ID. No, never. But I will bet you they ask you to take off your MAGA hat, and they call it electioneering. I bet that happens. But hey, give it a shot.
I'm going to try.
All right.
You're a good kid.
Godspeed, Scooter. Have fun. Joe in Hoffman Estates.
Good morning, Dan. People that don't follow the news, which is most Americans, are going to blame Trump for all of this. Gas prices, a war, long lines at the airport. I mean, you think people are watching, are listening to talk radio, or are they watching Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah. Well, thanks for the call, Joe. I mean, I understand it's uneven, but all we can do is put out information and be opinion leaders within our circles of influence, as I'm wont to say. So, don't worry about 350 million people. Worry about the couple few hundred people in your circle of influence that you can inform. If everybody did that, then we could defang a lot of this propagandizing, I think. John in Crown Point.
Hi, Dan. Love you. I love your show more. Hey, got a question. Those TSA lines, is it the regular line that's longer or the pre-TSA line? Because I'm going on vacation next week, and we have the pre-TSA check-in. So those has got to be shorter, correct?
Well, I don't know. Thanks for the call, John. I don't know airport to airport. But, if the standard line is 3 hours, you can bet that the pre-line is going to still be significantly longer than you're used to. And, one of the things I was talking about this to somebody. One of the things, like in this digital age, why don't we know why can't we check in at the airport to get how long the lines are? Like how long it's taking a person to get through the security line, both standard as well as TSA pre. It seems like that information should be like on the O'Hare and Midway homepage so people can check it. It should be easy to do. And then you don't have to do this guesswork of having to, do I need to show up 3 hours early, 4 hours early? Or at least where I'm flying out of, it's this temporary shutdown is not impacting a particular airport as significantly as it is some others. But I just think that should be easy access information. And maybe I'll run that up the flagpole with Sean Duffy and see if he salutes. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel old, older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief. And it didn't happen in an operating room. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon, Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea's back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. So don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation free. Call now, 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Casey Klebeck, and I'm running for the United States Senate. Our country faces serious challenges. Rising taxes, rising costs of food, housing, and health care. I'm running to change that with a bold agenda that puts working American first. My plan eliminates taxes on real estate, Social Security income, and retirement income. It removes taxes for students and young married couples, creates 5-year tax holiday for new small businesses, and delivers free prescription drugs for seniors, disabled Americans, and veterans. I'll take no salary. My seat will not be bought by lobbyists. My only client is you. I want to be your voice in Washington, fighting every day for lower taxes, secure borders, safe communities, a retirement you can count on, and keeping the promise of the American dream alive for the generations to come. Please vote for me on March 17. I'm Casey Klebeck, and I approve this message.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
AM 560, The Answer.
So, according to a friend, I guess I'm late to the dance on my $1 million idea for the ability to check security line wait times at airports. I'm told TSA has a site to check wait times, but because of the shutdown, it's not being kept up to date. Really? The guy who keeps track of all the security wait times around the country can't gather that information. He's not getting paid either? Well, see, you need something, again, that needs to be privatized and be something independent of TSA. We need to decentralize. All right. Good to know. Coming up at 6:36, we'll talk about Islamist terrorist attacks on the homeland with Andy McCarthy. Also talk a little bit about some of Trump's comments yesterday with respect to allies who will participate in the Iranian campaign versus the allies who won't. That's all at 6:36 with Andy McCarthy from National Review. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 15 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. It is Election Day. The polls are already open as voters head out to vote in the primary. They'll be open today until 7 p.m. The family of the late Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr. is clarifying statements made by Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton over the weekend. Stratton had said that she was given the endorsement of the late civil rights icon in the race for U.S. Senate. Jackson's family says she was actually given a draft ballot that was never intended to be released, and the family does not issue political endorsements. Nearly 70 people signed up to address city officials at a city council meeting in Joliet last night. Residents say they're concerned about the possibility of having the state's largest data center built in their town. While officials with ComEd assured residents that the proposed data center would not cause higher utility bills or deplete water resources, and it could even generate $2 billion in tax revenue for the city, citizens were still overwhelmingly against the idea. Should that data center be approved, the new facility could be up and running within 4 years. News is a service of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. For over 50 years, Woodland has been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, featuring styles ranging from modern to traditional. Visit woodlandwindows.com to get started today. A Check the Roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees retribution.
When people who have held immense power in this country start talking like this, when they sound desperate, when they sound unhinged, when they sound like they want to punish their fellow Americans, it tells you something deeper is going on out there. It's retribution for their enemies. This has become the norm for the Democratic Party.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the Retirement Tax Bill Calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com. Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tim, for more than 25 years, you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind. Can you give our listeners some examples of how you've helped clients over the years?
A couple of your listeners called in. They're a married couple. They're in their 60s. They were really concerned and tired of trying to manage their own investments. So their accounts were quite big, but they felt like they needed a little help with it so they didn't screw up at this stage of the game. So they couldn't afford to lose any money in the market moving forward, and trying to manage retirement on a fixed income was kind of a daunting task for them. So with about $1.5 million in 401k savings and other stocks and bonds, we rearranged their portfolio so that they had guaranteed future income, less volatility in the market, and of course tax savings. So now they have this peace of mind because they know that they have a protect and grow blueprint.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell him I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
Safety. It's so important at your industrial facility. You need to keep your personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. One problem with your ladders, platforms, or safety guards, and you could be facing costly fines. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a business owner, I realize the importance of keeping my employees safe, and I'm here to offer my expertise. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment, including walkways, handrails, stairways, and machinery guards. Our Vans Industrial team can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality goods, and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANSindustrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Watch out, we got a crash on the eastbound side of Route 80. It's blocking the exit ramp to get off onto the southbound side of 57, so that will slow you down. Looking at 14 minutes both ways on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. You got 19 in, 34 out on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Stop and go outbound as you approach Bessie Coleman Drive. The Ike is 15 minutes both ways from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 26 in, 21 out on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. 14 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, and slow on the Bishop Ford inbound between 115th Street and the Dan Ryan. This report is sponsored by the Hartford Auto Insurance. Wait until you hear this. You could save hundreds by switching to AARP Auto Insurance from the Hartford. Visit trusthartford.com. The Hartford, your protection is their passion. The Hartford Insurance Group, Inc. pays royalty fees to AARP for the use of its intellectual property. AARP and its affiliates are non-insurers. Savings vary. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be very cold with some sunshine peeking through. The high will reach 24 degrees. Tonight, expect overcast skies and cold temperatures. There will be on and off snow later on with accumulation of a coating to an inch. The low will be around 21 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We're going to talk about Islamist terrorist attacks on American soil, since we've had 4 in the last 2 weeks. But there's another matter I want to get to with our next guest, Andy McCarthy. And this was front and center yesterday. I know Iran was the main discussion point, but President Trump also formalized J.D. Vance as the fraud czar, for lack of a better description. I hate the use of nomenclature from Russian royalty to apply to civilian politicos in this country, but nonetheless. And this is going to be a big deal for Vance with an eye towards 28. Does he do anything with this task force? Does he produce results? Does he push for results when it comes to the systemic benefits fraud that almost certainly nationally eclipses trillions of dollars? And we get, very much like illegal immigrants committing crimes, we get story after story almost on a daily basis. That expose that CBS News did on hospice fraud in California last week. This week, a network affiliate in Minneapolis, it's not just Nick Shirley. There actually has been reporting on benefits fraud in Minnesota and Minneapolis over the last decade by some of the network affiliates. And to their credit, but it just hasn't really gotten popularized and nationalized until recently, thanks to egregious examples, indelible examples like the Quality Leering Center. Well, here's another one. Every program you turn to, or there is opportunity. Opportunity without oversight is how you get systemic benefits fraud. And here's the story, again, with a Somali at the center of it. A grant program to combat youth drug abuse? Well,
the state gave Faribault Public Schools nearly $1 million. It was a grant to prevent drug abuse back in 2022. We're following up now because one of the champions of that cause was charged with fraud just months after the money started flowing. We need help. They're the first words on this application to the state for $1 million grant. Now 5 Investigates is connecting those words to the woman who said them.
Ali.
I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Lul Ali.
We need help. It's not just a school. We need help. Big help.
Months after urging the Faribault School Board to go after grant money from the state in 2022, prosecutors charged Lul Ali with stealing $5 million from taxpayers. She's now one of more than 50 people who've pleaded guilty to fraud connected to Feeding Our Future.
We've had several meetings with this lady and a group of people over the last 3 months about it.
These recordings reveal Ali played a key role in the school district pursuing the grant from the Minnesota Department of Human Services to fight drug abuse within Faribault's minority population. At the same time, she was actively stealing millions of dollars from taxpayers. What did you think when you
talking to the school superintendent?
And I will say that was quite a shock to us. That was not something that was known to us during that time period, and that is something that the district took as a giant blow, and we did then really start vetting who was it that we were working with.
That's not the only question we had for Faribault Superintendent Jamie Benty. When the money's coming to the Faribault School District, where does the buck stop when it comes to accountability?
Well, I mean, that's an easy answer. It's me.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes 5-1.
Thank you.
Former school board member Richard Olson was the lone no vote on accepting the grant from DHS.
Was something funny with that. It's something strange.
Later, he said getting information about how the district was spending the money was difficult.
It's just not given to the board. It should be for the whole board and not to a selected group.
And you've asked for updates before?
Oh, yeah. And do I get them? No.
Does the district have a transparency problem?
I don't believe we have a transparency problem.
Of course not.
By the time I showed up to speak with the superintendent at a public meeting, we had already spent 6 weeks asking the district how it spent all of that grant money. Now, after an open records request, they sent us this stack of documents. But there really wasn't much detail in here beyond total amounts for salaries and payments to nonprofit partners. So we pushed for more. Did you ask anybody here at the district how these partners were performing?
So I have not. That has not made it to my level at this point.
2 days later, we got a new stack of records from the district. Finally, details about how it spent $979,000, receipts for new soccer goals and other equipment for a Somali youth soccer league, as well as accounting for after-school programming and youth engagement events. All of that is supposed to be collected by the state.
For more on this, Andy McCarthy joins us, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney, Southern District of New York, contributing editor, National Review. Andy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you, Dan.
So the reason I wanted to talk to you about this specifically is because clearly in places like Minnesota, the state level law enforcement officials like, Keith Ellison, don't seem to be attacking this fraud problem with any particular alacrity. And so it's necessarily going to fall to U.S. attorneys. And it seems to me this is really an explosive area for investigation and oversight and a reckoning for American taxpayers. And, I'm just thinking, like, if you were Attorney General or you were the fraud czar, how would you sort of conceive to go about this when you're talking about, potentially, just as what we've seen reported by citizen journalists, hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud spread across the entire country. How do you get your arms around something like this?
Well, I think in Minnesota, for example, you would start on the work that's already been done. In an investigation, if I'm remembering right, Dan, they had I want to say 7 people who they prosecuted over, I think in like the 3 years or so running into this year.
Yeah,
so
Feeding Our Future.
Obviously, yeah. So you would want to sit down with the FBI group that did that investigation and the prosecutors who were involved in it. Some of whom unfortunately have left the government. But you want to find whatever leads you have that they haven't pursued. And I think this is one of these stories, the way I understand it. And Scott Johnson's done some unbelievable reporting on this for Powerline.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is one of these stories where there was there was success in terms of prosecuting the fraud that didn't become much of a story, because I think, and this goes to what you were getting at in the run-up to our discussion, I think that the Democratic administrations in Minnesota, and I think we're going to see the same thing in California, are complicit in this. There may be some active complicity. At the very least, there's like turning a blind eye to what was going on. But I think part of the reason that you had quiet success on the Justice Department's part in the Biden administration is because they didn't want to draw attention to this for political reasons, even though the prosecutors were doing a good job prosecuting it in court. So I think if you want to make this, if you want to expand this into something that's national and make a story that's about tens of billions into one that's about 100 billion, you have to figure out exactly what you have in Minnesota, where you've done the lion's share of the work, and then see how that models up with other similar programs around the country in the places where you suspect a lot of fraud.
All right, moving on. I know you've written about both both of the Islamist terror attacks over the weekend, the synagogue attack in West Bloomfield, Michigan, as well as the shooting on the campus of Old Dominion. And, I mean, this goes back. I mean, you wrote extensively about this in the wake of 9/11, about the threat of Islamofascism and all the discussions we had about protecting the homeland during that period post 9/11 and during the meat of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Is this, everything old is new again? Is that what we're seeing?
Yeah, I think the frustrating thing for me is that what's old and is recurring now is the thing I've been complaining about for 30 years, which is when I prosecuted terrorists in the early to mid 90s, there were no politically correct shackles on how we could go about it. So I had a 9-month trial in Manhattan in the Blind Sheikh case, where we could explain to the jury in a very linear way that there are these injunctions to terrorism that are scriptural. They are mediated to young Muslim men by very influential scholars, like someone like the Blind Sheikh, who is utterly incapable of doing anything useful for a terrorist organization. Couldn't do an attack, couldn't do an assassination. All he could do was lead it. And the tell about that is that there's nothing that's more important in this doctrine than the ideology. So we were able to expose that to the jury and show scriptural injunctions, mediating influence of the people like the Blind Sheikh, terrorist attacks. That's the straight line. But after we were done in 1995, I think the main job of the Clinton administration, as it saw it, and this continued through Bush and especially Obama, was to suppress any learning about the ideology, to the point where this has been our main immediate vulnerability in the country for 30 years. And yet, if you ask most Americans, they don't know what these guys believe. And I keep reading, even as late as yesterday in the Wall Street Journal editorial page, about how suddenly we're having people self-radicalize.
Yeah, right. Suddenly.
In the United States. There is no self-radicalization. People are radicalized by the doctrine. The doctrine is Sharia supremacism. We don't want to talk about that because it is a construction of Islam that is not, while it's not big in the West, it's dominant in the Middle East, where a lot of the people who have come from those areas. And wherever you get enclaves where Sharia supremacism becomes, it gets enough people who are adherent to it that you get like a uprising of support, even if it's only 5 or 10% of people. Then what they invariably do is they put pressure on the home government. You see this all over Europe. They put pressure on the home government to allow themselves to be autonomously ruled under Sharia. and those enclaves become places where you can peddle the ideology, recruit, train for terrorism, etc., and you're going to get some percentage of people who are going to commit jihadist attacks. There's no self-radicalizing. It's all doctrinal. We just don't want to talk about it.
Well, and to compare that time period where you were prosecuting the mastermind of the World Trade Center bombing #1, well, that's when Rudy Giuliani was mayor of New York City. Now layer in Mamdani being mayor of New York City after the Gracie Mansion IED attacks and just this general environment where Islamophobia now is the main discussion point coming out of, 2 Pennsylvania teenagers, quote unquote, deciding not to enjoy the lovely weather in New York City.
Yeah, well, what I would remind people, I've written this about 800 times, so, to me, I'm blue in the face already, but there is no such thing as Islamophobia. Islamophobia is a term that was made up by the Muslim Brotherhood. And Muslim Brotherhood is a brilliant organization in this regard. They go to school on us in a way that we don't go to school on them. But they understood that there's no epithet in America that is the equivalent of accusing somebody of racism. So they came up with a term that is effectively an accusation of racism. Mm-hmm. But if you are concerned about a doctrine that is generating terrorist attacks, that's not a phobia, that's a rational fear. And I don't mean, when I say that, I'm not saying that there isn't Muslim hatred, just like there's Jew hatred and other forms of hatred. We always have bigots. We're always going to have bigots with us. But if you have concerns about a doctrine that is influencing and fueling terrorist attacks, that's not a phobia, that's common sense. And Islamophobia is a term that the Muslim Brotherhood prescribed in order to intimidate people from studying the ideology that we need to study in order to protect ourselves from a national security standpoint.
But it's just totalitarian identitarian politics, which is sort of a redundancy. Andy McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney, Southern District of New York, contributing editor at National Review as well. Andy, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
And Andy joins us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. She's unafraid and unapologetic. She's Laura Trump, and she's shaking things up on the Right View podcast.
We're the side with the mean stuff? Are you guys kidding? You call us Nazis. You call us fascists. You call Donald Trump Hitler from the left. Really? We're the side that's the problem. You're out assaulting ICE agents every chance you possibly get.
Subscribe to the Right View podcast with Laura Trump on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
The following is a paid political announcement.
It's time for Common Sense, America First leadership in Washington. Hi, I'm Nikki Conforti, and I'm ready to fight for the 6th Congressional District and put working families first. Congressional District 6 needs strength and experience. Congress is no place for on-the-job training. Vote for the leadership our community deserves. Be sure to get out and vote for Nikki Conforti for U.S. Congressional District 6 on March 17th. I'm Nikki Conforti, and I approve this message.
AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history you don't know. And Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. Home bias is an investment concept that has been the norm for centuries as people tend to prefer investing closer to home but receive lower risk premiums. As Alan Greenspan pointed out in the mid-2000s, home bias is still prevalent but has seen a marked decline worldwide, largely due to information processing technological improvements. Conveniently, this new dynamic is one of the reasons the U.S. can run huge trade and budget deficits. The rest of the world finances all of it. One specific source of foreign deficit financing that this decline in home bias has facilitated is the yen carry trade. This began in earnest shortly after the incident in L.A. in 1988 involving German gangsters trying to break into the Nakatomi Plaza to seize $640 million in bearer bonds. Of course, there are less cinematic causes too, but by the 90s, Japan was saddled with a long period of interest rate suppression. This allowed investors to borrow yen at low rates and then exchange them into dollars, which, when invested, pays a higher rate of return. Most of this carry trade wound up in U.S. Treasuries. Another more direct source is the petrodollar. This Nixon-era agreement with various OPEC Gulf states assures us that all of their oil trades get priced in dollars, which get funneled into dollar trades like buying up Citibank shares or U.S. Treasuries. Put more bluntly, petrodollars help finance our domestic spending excesses, fraud, and any other outright theft that some engage in as well. There's also been a tendency in some circles to blame Israel for this conflict, but in reality, they help us to enforce the old Eisenhower doctrine tenet that no other great power will dominate the Middle East. Since Japanese interest rates have risen lately, the petrodollar regime gains in importance too. As an added bonus, all of this also disrupts any notion of China's Belt and Road Initiative, especially since the Strait of Hormuz being choked up hurts them the most. I believe Hans Grumer referred to this strange radical group called the Asian Dawn Movement. He read about them in the Time magazine or something. Fictional or otherwise, not happening now.
So what do you make, Frank, of President Trump's decision to push off his summit with Xi? It seems to me that his hand is strengthening with each passing day vis-a-vis Xi, so why not sit down and play the hand he has dealt himself?
That's a good question as to why he delayed it. Maybe it's just he's got to deal with the aspects of this war right now, or maybe he's dragging it out. And no doubt China is affected by Hormuz more than we are, no doubt. And since we have basically Venezuela, a regime change there, all that oil, I know it's heavier oil, but it's oil that can change the world price and improve our hemisphere. I think that has something to do with it too. Yeah.
And a crippled Cuba that can't even keep the lights on, quite literally. So Cuba, Venezuela, Iran also all getting sidelined. That's not good news for the Chinese communists.
Trump is truly a transformational president, especially in foreign policy. No doubt.
Frank, thank you very much. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
He was considered Iran's de facto leader. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News Now. Ali Larijani is dead, the latest one taken out by Israel in a strike overnight.
And Larijani was also serving as the secretary to Iran's National Security Council, responsible for building the military structure being used against U.S. forces and allies across the region. A top Basij commander by the name of Gholam Reza Soleimani was killed in a separate strike, along with, according to an official I spoke with, more than a dozen Basij officials.
Fox's Trey in Tel Aviv, that Basij is the military and militia that cracked down on a recent uprising in Iran, killing thousands of civilian protesters. And as the U.S. also continues to attack Iran on 18th day, the counterattacks continue.
Iran's latest salvo against American interests in the Middle East saw 3 drones and 4 rockets fired at the U.S. embassy in Baghdad, Iraq. Reuters reports one of the drones got through and struck inside the embassy compound.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Iran also hit another oil facility in the region, in the United Arab Emirates, says oil shipping remains pretty much halted. Fox's Mark Meredith reports.
The White House is hoping the world's need for a stable supply of oil will incentivize more countries to step up and do more to protect cargo ships so that they can move through the Strait of Hormuz. The president says it'll take an international coalition to ensure maritime traffic can pass through the strait safely, and he's also counting on U.S. allies to step up.
No coalition announced yet. Oil prices up 3%. As parts of the U.S. clean up from bad weather, there are more than 2,500 flights canceled or delayed, as some airports may have long security lines again. The Department of Homeland Security funding still blocked in Congress. Some TSA agents still not showing up.
They missed their first full paycheck last week. TSA union leaders say many employees are coping with eviction notices, car repossessions, and overdrawn bank accounts. More than 300 TSA agents have quit.
That's Fox's Madeline Rivera. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 15 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A federal judge is extending an order blocking the Trump administration from cutting more than $600 million in public health care grants for Illinois and several other Democratic-led states. The judge had previously ordered a temporary restraining order banning the federal government from holding back funds from California, Colorado, and Minnesota. The 4 states sued the Trump administration last month over those proposed cuts. Illinois was in line to lose more than $170 million in healthcare grants. Divvy is expanding here in Chicago. City officials announcing that they're adding 200 new or upgraded stations this year for Chicago's Bike and Scooter Share program. The annual membership for new and lapsed riders will remain at $99. The system is coming off a record-breaking year in 2025 in which riders took 6.8 million trips on Divvy. That's the highest annual ridership ever. And none too soon, given that spring break season is here and the national average for a gallon of regular gasoline jumped nearly 16 cents last week. Officials with AAA say the current prices are similar, though, to what they were in the spring of 2024. They say that this is normal as the demand for gas increases this time of year as weather warms up and more drivers hit the road. Now, to help offset the rising prices, the U.S. has announced that it will be releasing 172 million barrels of oil from its strategic reserves over the next 4 months. Here in the Chicago Metro, AAA is reporting the average price for a gallon of regular gas is up to $3.92 a gallon. That's up 20 cents a gallon from last week and up 57 cents from this time last year. And today might end up being the coldest St. Patrick's Day ever in Chicago history. The lowest high temp for St. Patrick's Day on record was 25 degrees back in 1967. National Weather Service says our high today will be near 24 degrees. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder is impressed.
Destroyed apparently half of Iran's missile capability. Half have achieved air superiority. The Iranian naval, bottom of the ocean. Top leader and 40 some odd other top leaders wiped out in one fell swoop. This is stunning. Absolutely stunning.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
Being brothers, you knew each other very, very well.
I think I was scared to do it myself, too. There's something about having somebody with you.
Sure.
Ben and Arvid from Penny Mustard Furnishings.
And in hindsight, it's probably been a good thing because we see things from different perspectives.
Yes.
Right?
And have different skill sets.
We fight over how things should be done because we see things from different directions, you know.
But we also know that both people have the best interest of Penny Mustard at heart.
Yeah.
PennyMustard.com.
I said fight, it's a friendly fight. I mean, you know.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah.
Shh, here he comes! Surprise! The people above your catering business are doing major construction! And the drilling is only during business hours! So loud!
Progressive knows small business owners usually don't like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting personalized discounts on a commercial auto quote with Progressive.
Also, that isn't powdered sugar on the floor, it's plaster from your ceiling!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-809-7171. That's 800-809-7171.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Casey Klebeck, and I'm running for the United States Senate. Our country faces serious challenges: rising taxes, rising costs of food, housing, and health care. I'm running to change that with a bold agenda that puts working American first. My plan eliminates taxes on real estate, Social Security income, and retirement income. It removes taxes for students and young married couples, creates 5-year tax holiday for new small businesses, and delivers free prescription drugs for seniors, disabled Americans, and veterans. I'll take no salary. My seat will not be bought by lobbyists. My only client is you. I want to be your voice in Washington, fighting every day for lower taxes, secure borders, safe communities, a retirement you can count on, and keeping the promise of the American dream alive for the generations to come. Please vote for me on March 17. I'm Casey Klebeck, and I approve this message.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. You got 16 in, 15 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, 27 in, 38 out on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Now outbound, there's an accident on the shoulder at California Avenue, and then after that, another crash on the exit ramp for Canfield Road. You're also stop and go inbound in the express lanes as you head towards Ohio Street. 24 in, 17 out on the Ike from Wolf to the old post office. Inbound Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore is 35, outbound is 23. Watch out for an outbound crash at Central Avenue involving 2 trucks. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 18, outbound is 11. The express lanes northbound at Garfield Boulevard, there's a stall, and also stop and go on the Bishop Ford inbound between 115th Street and the Dan Ryan. This report is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be very cold with some sunshine peeking through. The high will reach 24 degrees. Tonight, expect overcast skies and cold temperatures. There will be on and off snow later on with accumulation of a coating to an inch. The low will be around 21 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. A friend of mine texted me. Polls have been open for an hour and 5 minutes. I was number 2 in precinct 10 to vote. He lives in Roselle. So is that Schaumburg Township? I was number 2 in I was number 2 to vote. Polls at 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay, chop chop for those who haven't already voted or made their plans. Wanted to back to something that I brought you earlier in the program, but it bears repeating on this election day. Jean Kazmarek. She's the DuPage County clerk, and she posted this video announcing this hotline in advance of today's election.
Hi, I'm Jean Kazmarek, DuPage County clerk, with important voting information about the 2026 primary election. In DuPage County, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, better known as ICE, will not be allowed to interfere with DuPage County elections in any way. It is a federal crime for the military or federal agents to interfere in elections or intimidate voters. It is a crime punishable by up to 5 years in prison to deploy federal troops or armed men to any locations where voting is taking place or elections are being held. Those crimes will not be tolerated in DuPage County. Not on my watch.
Okay, Jean Kazmarek. This is what we have allowed DuPage County to become. Aren't you sickened? Somebody as pathetic as that. The cheap boogeyman politics and the sort of Soviet-style recitation of the missive from Central Command to repeat. Gene, not on my watch. Yeah. And my friend's number 2 at his polling place in Roselle, an hour into voting on this primary election day. Well, Every election cycle provides opportunities. Ted Dabrowski, of course, candidate I'm backing for governor, had a presser yesterday featuring some of the support that some of the support that has coalesced around him from top to bottom, east to west. But most notably, per this closing message, he understands that victory runs through the suburbs in November, which it does. So I was particularly interested to hear from Tom Morrison, who was really a conservative thought leader from Palatine, conservative thought leader during his 12 years in the General Assembly. This is what he said.
My name is Tom Morrison. I was a 6-term state representative from Northwest Cook County, a suburban seat, which we know is going to be the key to winning this election, both tomorrow, March 17th, but also in November. And that's why I'm up here proudly supporting Ted Dabrowski for governor. We need to elect someone to be our nominee who can actually beat J.B. Pritzker. And when you look at the stage, you look at the coalition that he has put together, it consists of people on the policy side, people, different ethnicities, from the business community, up and down the state, from the city to the suburbs, all the way downstate. Ted has a very strong coalition. I think he's our best candidate who can actually beat J.B. Pritzker. He knows the issues. We've been friends for about 15 years when I first took office down in Springfield, and Ted knows policy on A to Z issues. And so that's why I'm proud to stand with him, to endorse him. I'm just encouraging everyone, come out to vote. There is no excuse why you should sit this out. Who our nominee is really, really matters. And so please come out, support Ted Dabrowski, and then let's take back this state. Let's get Illinois on the path where we should be come November. But we won't get there without Ted as our nominee.
Indeed. My friend, by the way, Barrington Township, voting out there, number 2 at 705 in his polling place, where you would think there would be a sizable number of Republican primary voters. Maybe a lot of them voted early. It's possible. If you have a question for Ted, we'll fold some of your questions in as well. 312-642-5600, turnkey, the Chicago Morning Answer call-in and text line. Ted Dabrowski, tedforillinois.com, joins us now. Ted.
Good morning, Dan. Happy Election Day.
Morning. So where are you at right now?
Well, I'm at home, getting ready to go vote in just a little bit.
Good. You're not going to forget to vote. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Maybe that's why. Well, anyway, I'm excited to go.
And give us your closing pitch.
Well, look, I think everybody on this show knows how extreme things have become. Pritzker's taken things to such craziness, and the legislature has as well. And I think there's a big opening for us right now. It's an amazing opening if we can get together, unite together, get out the vote. And we got to make sure that people pull Republican ballots, by the way. But this is a big moment for us because I think we really can turn this around. And I've run a campaign that I think tries to leverage on my experience in finance, my experience in policy. I've got 30 years of that. And if there's a state that needs help in finances and policy, it's this one. So I'm excited to put that experience behind it. But I think the biggest thing is, to beat Pritzker, we've got to put together a coalition. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I supported Bailey last time, but he got beat, trounced by 35 points in the suburbs, Cook County in the suburbs, because he couldn't put that coalition together that includes a big support in the suburbs in Chicago. And I've been working on that, and it's been exciting to do, and I've done it. I've been speaking in evangelical Hispanic churches, and not just Spanish, but Filipino and Assyrian, and there's big support for us. They're conservative. They hate DEI. They're family oriented. They hated when the churches were closed during COVID. They want somebody else. They do not like Pritzker. So there's a whole bunch of people out there. And then I've worked on the Slavic side as well. Being half Polish, the Ukrainians, the Poles, the Romanians, they came to this country for freedom and opportunity, and they hate what they see happening in Illinois. And so they like having a guy whose father was Polish, who I lived in Poland for 9 years, and can speak to them, and they understand the whole freedom argument. So it's been really fun to build this coalition. But it's not just up here too. At Southern Illinois, I've had a great time. I just picked up a great Andy Fry, who's a big radio host down there. Just gave her vote for us. Yeah, St. Louis, and she covers the Metro East area. Tracy Boss, my boss' wife, just held a nice get out the vote party for us down there. So it's across the state, and we can do it. It's exciting. Pritzker has to go, and the candidate that you all should pick is the person who can put together that coalition to beat Pritzker and we're that campaign.
Well, yeah, it's like what you've said in one of your spots, the most conservative candidate who can win. That was always the admonition. And, for my money, you're the most conservative candidate and the only guy who can win. So that is a nice twofer. I also know just late-breaking endorsements. I talked about a little bit earlier in the program. Zoe Lee from Chicago Flips Red, those black ladies that are taking on the Dem establishment in the city, endorsed you yesterday. So that was a it's a nice get. It just speaks to that coalition building you're talking about.
Well, it's a big deal. These are a few people from this black community who've just taken on the system, and they're doing it unabashedly, and they've gotten a lot of recognition. And I think for them to come on with us, what Zoe said is that she liked is that I was the one pointing out how the black population in Chicago has just been destroyed by all these policies. These are pandering policies from Pritzker, from Lightfoot, from Johnson, from Preckwinkle. All this money, all this support, all this stuff. And if you look at any stat that matters on poverty, unemployment, education, Chicago is dead last for the black community. So they have to try something new, and it's great that Zoe, she saw it, she got it, and she's on board. And again, that's the kind of coalition we need to put together to beat Pritzker.
Let's take a couple calls. Renee in Barrington.
Yes, hi, good morning, Ted. Thank you for running on Voting for You, and so is my husband. I think to dumb it down and try to get both Republicans and Democrats to vote for you in the general, the one message I think could be this no cash bail idea. This idea that Pritzker cares more about criminals than the average citizen.
Thanks, Renee. Ted?
Renee, amen. I mean, Pritzker cares more about illegal immigrants than he does about his own residents. He cares more about criminals than he cares about victims. He cares more about the Chicago Teachers Union than he does about students. I mean, I could go on and on. This guy is destroyed family rights, parental rights, religious rights, and he's gone after life. He's made Illinois the abortion capital of the Midwest, and then he's done the assisted suicide. So he's on all the wrong sides of where we are, and that's the argument we need to make. But absolutely right on the Safety Act. We need to repeal the Safety Act, bring back cash bail, and get rid of all the sanctuary city and sanctuary state laws.
Well, it seems like there's a natural coalition there on repealing the Safety Act with, I don't know, like 100 of the state's 102 states attorneys that opposed it, and most, if not all, of the county sheriffs. And the key, as you discussed on the trail, that I've seized upon is that, look, you make this a priority. You don't just sort of take a position and say, look, it's right there on my website. That's my position. You have to put in the fight, even if you're facing supermajority of Dems controlling the General Assembly. There are things a governor can do. Governor's a powerful office, and all that. There are things a governor can do to force attention, debate on this issue in a way that it hasn't been forced, obviously, under Pritzker.
Well, I think we all learned from Trump 2.0 versus Trump 1.0. Trump did a great job of putting in department heads that took over, that actually made decisions and took a strong stance, and that's a great lesson for us because with supermajorities and Democrats in the legislature, our department heads and our executive power has to be used to flip a lot of these things. So it has to be a battle, and on day one, you can't have a state and you can't have a Chicago without safety. So we have to attack the sanctuary laws and the Safety Act laws on day one. And Dan, you're right, to be the 100 states attorneys, if we can get them all together and just say, hey, we're fighting this, we're opposing this in a way that, couldn't be done with Pritzker's governor. I think it gives us great power and, bring the people with us.
Doug in Salem, Illinois.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to say, I'm going to support you, Ted. I like what you say. And after listening to your numbers, Dan, that you give out about the suburbs, why would anybody vote for Darren Bailey? I mean, why vote for the guy that lost last time. I mean, to me, that just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to vote for a loser, and then that just gives us a bigger chance to lose again this year. So I'll be voting for you, Ted, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Doug. Go ahead, Ted.
Yes, thank you. Well, I just say, I think most people who keep up with things will remember that and know that he lost by 35 points up here. And I think, that's been our big opening. And it's one of the reasons I ran, as I mentioned, I supported Darren last time. But when I saw him lose so big up here, it's like, okay, I'm running. I think the big question is, for the population that doesn't keep up with the facts, and they don't keep up with politics, they just may remember Darren from his last run and all that money that was spent on him. But that's been our big challenge, is just to catch up with the name recognition, and I think we've done it, certainly in the suburbs, and that's where we're excited and optimistic that people will recognize that Darren can't win.
Sean and Darien.
Yeah, hi. I'm definitely voting for Ted, of course, but I do have a buddy of mine, supposedly a smart guy, and I know Darren was just, I was just talking about, name recognition. This friend of mine was going to vote for Mendrick. I said, "Are you serious?" I had to backhand him, So, but we did get that vote to Ted, thank God. But I don't know what he needs to do for more name recognition. But obviously a friend of mine's an idiot. But thanks.
Thanks for the call, Sean. Well, it's as a first-time candidate. I mean, we've talked a lot about this privately and public. As a first-time candidate, this, it's a big state. It's maybe 750,000 Republican primary votes today, depending on the weather, maybe a little bit fewer. But it's a big electorate, and it just takes time to get around the state and to raise the resources to project a message around the state. I mean, it's a daunting proposition, and a lot of people, including in the donor community, have, if they've not given up, they're certainly cynical about prospects in Illinois. So it's a tough environment, as you have no doubt experienced.
Yeah, it's been that way, but I think it's people are hungry, and I like that, and I've enjoyed getting out there. People are looking for something new, and I that's why I'm excited by the coalition we built, and all these people. Hungry for getting out of this extremity. I think people want to get back to like Midwest values, and so I've met people Central Illinois, Southern Illinois, up here. It's been great. The people are hungry for change. It's again, as a candidate, man, I always wish I had more money and more time, but that's
right.
The reality of campaigns, and you got to do what you can with what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there are things that have surprised you along the way. They certainly did when I ran, even though I was much more involved in electoral politics than you have been to this point. On the campaign side, what if anything, one or two things that like particularly surprised you positively or negatively?
I'll tell you one thing that's fascinating, and I really appreciate it. I've always been a person of faith. I'm Catholic and go to church, but when you travel the state, you see the depth of faith, especially when you go to Southern Illinois and. Well, just in all pockets, it's phenomenal how much that faith enters into the political thought, right? Because when you go to this extreme like Pritzker has done, it really brings out the faith in people saying, we don't like this, we don't like these values in our schools, in our in our work, in our churches. So it's been pretty powerful. That's number one, and number two, the big thing that I thought too is. Coming back to taxes, which has been by far the biggest issue, property taxes. I was thinking that Southern Illinois would be less impacted, that more space and less crowded. It's the biggest complaint by far. They care about that as much as they do up here, and so that's been pretty big. And I think the third thing is just how disenfranchised Southern Illinois and to a large extent Central Illinois feel. They feel, and rightfully so. Chicago politics just dominate, and down there they just feel like, wow, we have no power, we have no vote, we have no voice, and so that's something to bring back. I've said that we should be a top 5 state in this country, and we'll never have a top 5 state if you don't have Central Illinois and Southern Illinois participating. So they have to be a big part of the solution.
One of the criticisms, and I see it on the text string too of you that you've no doubt heard, but see how you respond. You're not exactly a matinee idol. You're not exactly a charismatic figure. You're not Robert Duvall and the Apostle. So what about that? You have to be more charismatic. You have to be more demagogic even in these times. How do you respond?
Yeah, authentically, I'm a serious person. I'm a professional. I've done all this work for 30 years, and I try to do it authentically. I try to do it with reason, with calm. If you want somebody fun and crazy, go get Blago. I mean, this is the whole thing. There's no correlation. Yeah, well, there's no correlation between loud and obnoxious and whatever and success. It's really about I look at you use the word tenacity, smarts, and just hard work. I'm a work ethic guy, and I will fight like crazy, but I don't have to do it screaming and yelling. I'm like a bulldog that won't let go. So I think that's what we need right now. We need somebody who's principled, who stands strong and will not back down, who's steely, and that's what I am. I'm not going to scream and call people names. I think that's where we've gone to such extremes that now you can't tell a good politician from a bad one. If they all yell and scream, then you can't tell which one's the good one.
All right, very good. You got to be you. Ted Dabrowski, tedforillinois.com if you want any last-minute info on his candidacy. Of course, on the ballot today, Republican candidate for governor. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for everything.
Yep. And he joins us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com. Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
So, Tim, let's check in on how you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind. Perhaps you have a story or two, a success story or two, an example of how you've helped clients recently.
I remember I had a neighbor who, believe it or not, was a longtime listener to your show. And he had come up to me in the yard and said he wanted to stop and smell the roses and kind of get out of his job. He was done taking the train downtown to Chicago every day and basically working 60 hours a week for a company that didn't really care about him or his family. So we started running numbers, and lo and behold, he was able to retire 5 years earlier. He's now 12 years retired. He's a grandpa. He's loving life. He, too, needed a protect and grow blueprint, and he had to make sure he wasn't leaving anything to chance for their future.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell them I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do. It's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment, so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you.
AM 560, The Answer.
Quickly, Robert and Lyle, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. You know what? I'm an ex-deputy sheriff of DuPage County, and wow, this is unbelievable that clerk would say something like that. How about ending her statement with, if you get caught voting, you're going to be going to jail?
Well, that would be voting illegally. Yeah, that would be nice, but obviously that's not her position.
Yeah, no. Isn't it funny how all these libs, and that's what she is, by the way, hide behind federal law, and yet they're the biggest offenders of federal law with all their gun right bullshit. Excuse me.
Well, bull jive. Yeah, bull jive. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It really aggravates me to no end. And your gentleman there that's running for governor, I hope he makes it. And he should get rid of the sanctuary state baloney. And also, too, as far as the abortion thing, I had talked to you earlier about this a long time ago. That if Illinois has young girls coming into it from out of state, I said that goes against the Mann Act, where we're bringing women into the state to commit a crime. So, if they're coming from a state where abortion is illegal and they're coming here to have an abortion, that in itself, I believe, is a violation of that statute and the law. So I hope that this new governor coming in can get rid of all the baloney that's happening in our state. And so I wish him the best.
Thanks for the call, Rob. Appreciate it. Coming up at 7:37, speaking of federal law, the SAVE Act goes to the Senate floor today. 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 15 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Today is the Illinois primary election for the midterms later this year. The midterm election will include an open Senate seat. There's also multiple open congressional seats up for grabs. Polls are now open until 7 o'clock. Remember, you must be in line by 7 to be allowed to vote. Parents in Libertyville made their voices heard at last night's school board meeting, asking for a special education teacher to be dismissed. According to reports, a lawsuit had been filed against the school district, which alleges that the teacher groomed and sexually assaulted a student with Down syndrome, and that the district failed to protect students from the teacher by overlooking background checks and prior arrests and allowing him to continue to work for the district. Officials with the school district released a statement saying they were committed to the safety of the students enrolled. However, the district could not comment on pending litigation. News is a service of Steiner Homes. Building homes is more than a business, it's a calling. Family owned and dedicated to building custom homes with care, integrity, and craftsmanship that you can trust. Visit SteinerHomesLTD.com. That's SteinerHomesLTD.com. Northwest Indiana's leading home builder. Steiner Homes, love where you live. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher finds it hard to believe.
CNN describes the two terrorists in New York City as two teenagers from Pennsylvania who crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day before they threw a bomb and tried to blow up a bunch of people. It almost becomes impossible to believe.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560, The Answer.
It's Reveille. Public policy matters. Just ask anyone who has escaped communism, or Ken Griffin, who moved to Miami after decades of living in Chicago, or the Bears, who are thinking of going to Indiana. There's real competition happening right now among states. 9 states are cutting individual taxes this year. Florida is looking at doing away with property taxes. Internationally, we see the same thing. There's no better example of what the free market can do than what Poland has done over the last 20 years under the right policy mix. The Associated Press noted in their feature article on Poland's economic rise that a generation ago, Poland rationed sugar and flour while its citizens were paid 1/10 what West Germans earned. Today, the country has the world's 20th largest economy. Poland's economy has grown an average of 3.8% a year since joining the EU in 2004, beating the European average of 1.8%. Policy mattered. Marcin Piakowski of Warsaw's Kosminski University commented for the AP, one of the most important factors was rapidly building a strong institutional framework for business. That included independent courts, an anti-monopoly agency to ensure fair competition, and strong regulation to keep troubled banks from choking off credit. As a result, the economy wasn't hijacked by corrupt practices and oligarchs, as happened elsewhere in the post-communist world. Politicians make the policy, so elections have consequences. Today is primary election day in Illinois. Republican voters should follow the Buckley rule and select the most conservative candidate that can win in the general election. In the Republican governor race, that person is Ted Dabrowski. From 1998 to 2007, Ted was in Poland, helping turn the country into the powerhouse it is today. Let's elect him to do the same for Illinois. I'm Jeannie Ives. Listen to The Real Story Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 18 minutes both ways on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. Inbound Kennedy is 38. Outbound is 43 from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Now there is a crash on the outbound side on the exit ramp for Canfield Road, and then stop and go inbound in the express lanes between Belmont Avenue and Ohio Street. 31 in, 23 out on the Ike from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 40 in, 23 out on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Watch out for a stall taking out the left and center lanes inbound on the Dan Ryan and 95th Street. So we're looking at 20 minutes from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 11. This report is sponsored by Wendy's. New Girl Scout Thin Mints Frosty Fusion. Wendy's new Girl Scout Thin Mints Frosty Fusion is here. With a mint chocolate sauce, this treat was designed to be loved. But be sure to get the new Thin Mints Frosty Fusion soon, cause just like Girl Scout cookie season, it won't be here forever. Plus, don't forget to order your fave cookies on girlscoutcookies.org. Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's and Girl Scouts of the USA. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be very cold with some sunshine peeking through. The high will reach 24. Tonight, expect overcast skies and cold temperatures with intermittent snow later on, accumulating between a coating to an inch. The low will be around 21. Tomorrow morning may see a few flurries, but overall it will be mostly cloudy and not as chilly with a high of 42. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and Utah Senator Mike Lee is the one who has been driving passage of the SAVE Act in the Senate. Chip Roy and others in the House, but really Mike Lee has taken the lead in the Senate. He posted this update over the weekend in advance of the SAVE Act going to the Senate floor this week, like today.
Okay, important update on the Save America Act and the effort to get it passed. Look, I am guardedly optimistic. We've turned kind of a corner. Over the last few days, there's been some uncertainty about exactly what procedure we will be and will not be using. In the end, we've been working closely with Leader Thune and his staff, and they've been great to work with. What we're coming up with is something that I think is best described as a hybrid version of the talking filibuster. But look, let's not get mired down in nomenclature. What matters far more than what we call it is what we do with it. We're going to bring it to the floor. We're going to debate it for an extended period of time before filing cloture. And in my view, at least, I don't want to speak for anyone else, this bill needs to remain on the Senate floor before we file cloture on the bill for as long as it takes to get it done. Now, the fact that Leader Thune and his office have been willing to work with us on this, and they appear open to a variation of that, is a good thing. So let's Let's keep up the momentum. Let's encourage them to continue to do this. Let's put the bill on the floor. Let's make those who want to filibuster speak and keep it on there as long as possible. Thanks so much.
And then his update yesterday with debate beginning today, ostensibly.
It's been about 2 years since Chip Roy and I wrote the SAVE Act, which later became the Save America Act. Tomorrow, this is going to come to fruition as the Save America Act comes to the floor of the United States Senate. I invite all within the sound of my voice who would like this bill to become law to reach out to as many people as possible, friends, neighbors, especially United States senators who might listen to you. Ask them, please get this passed. Tell them we need to invoke the talking filibuster in the United States Senate. No zombie filibuster will suffice on this one. We've got to turn to this bill, we've got to debate it, and we've got to stay on the bill until it becomes law. There can be no surrender. There can be no ifs, ands, or buts. There can be no cheap imitations here. The Republic is on the line. Let's get this done.
The Republic is on the line, 312-642-5600 to give us a call or a text. This is perhaps what will either galvanize Republicans in the midterm or depress them. Certainly it will have an impact. How deep and how lasting, I guess, depends on how it goes and how inspired Republican MAGA voters are by the effort put forward by congressional Republicans, particularly in the Senate. There is concern because, of course, Save the Republic on this side, but Pagliacci, Schumer, and the Dems on the other side are going to provide no quarter. And that means, as per Ron Johnson, seems like it'd be difficult to get 7 Democrats to peel off, or 6 if you include Fetterman. And so can we get to an environment where 50+1 gets it done?
And if Republicans try to burn time on this legislation here on the floor, we will oppose them for as long as it takes.
The irresistible force versus the immovable object. Who wins? 312-642-5600. California Senator Alex Padilla echoing Pagliacci.
This coming week, I'm taking to the floor, leading my colleagues to make sure that we oppose any sort of parliamentary trick they may try to get the SAVE Act passed. We're not going to let it get past the Senate.
And the hilariously ridiculous arguments from congressional neo-Marxists continue. Andre Carson from the Hoosier State offering this.
Trump and his congressional Republicans are absolutely trying to dismantle our electoral process. And the SAVE Act, it impacts millions of women who change their last names after marriage, many of them who are mothers who are incredibly busy. They don't have time to track down extra paperwork. It will also prevent minorities from voting, and their strategy couldn't be more clear. And the American people are pushing back. I hope the Senate does the same.
Women are too busy to be bothered to register to vote, the old-fashioned way by proving your citizenship and so forth. That's right up there with Kamala's commentary on farmers and fax machines. It is worth noting that despite what they assert, that this is all about preventing people who are otherwise completely capable as any other person, regardless of race or sex, that this is all about trying to prevent people from voting. J.D. Vance, in his promotion of the SAVE Act, reminded us that's not true. We had a story out of North Carolina just last week.
If you know anything about this legislation, what the Save America Act does is that it makes it impossible for illegal aliens to vote in our elections. Pretty common sense. Now, I think that's pretty easy, right? We don't want illegal aliens voting in our elections. My favorite thing is whenever I bring this up, you'll have some Democrat on TV who will say, well, we don't have to worry about that because illegal immigrants voting in our elections is very rare. Well, number one, how about we put it to 0, okay, even if you're right. Number two, you're not right. It happens way more often than a lot of people appreciate. In fact, just this week, ICE arrested an illegal immigrant. I'm going to read this because I want to make sure I get it right. An illegal immigrant from Mauritania who's voted in 7 federal elections since 2008. And I haven't got good authority that in every single election he voted for Don Davis. No, I don't know about that. I don't know where he voted, but I guarantee it wasn't for us. Okay, it wasn't for America First policies. Now, here's the thing, though. Even if you take the Democrats at their word, even if illegal aliens voting is very rare, then why don't we ban it anyway? It's not that complicated. It is one thing to say, I don't get it. The Democrats say, this never happens, or it happens only very rarely, on the one hand, and on the other hand, we must not stop it. It doesn't make a damn bit of sense. We need to get all illegal aliens stopping from voting in our elections. It's very common sense stuff.
So it was the man from Mauritania, North Carolina, who got outed, and this from a local network affiliate in Harris County, Texas.
British national now faces federal charges after he's accused of illegally voting in the 2024 general election in Harris County, despite not being a U.S. citizen. ABC 13's Sarah Al-Sheikh looked into how he was able to get registered in the first place. New at 10.
Federal investigators say a British man knowingly broke U.S. election law. According to court documents, Samuel James Hall, described as a non-U.S. citizen, is accused of voting in the 2024 general election, casting a ballot in races for president, vice president, Senate, and the House of Representatives, despite allegedly knowing he was not eligible to vote. The Harris County Tax Assessor, Collector, and Voter Registrar's Office tells ABC 13 it first learned Hall was on the voter rolls last June, 7 months after the election. Officials say they notified him and that Hall then canceled his own registration. The registrar says he was removed from the voter rolls and is not currently registered to vote in Harris County. Writing in a statement, quote, as this is an ongoing investigation, we are unable to share more at this time and remain committed to ensuring that the voter registration rolls are up to date and that only eligible citizens are enrolled and part of the process. ABC 13 asked how Hall was able to register to vote in the first place, since that is the key issue, but we have not gotten that answer. Last year, the Texas Secretary...
So it's too difficult to register to vote legally, but it's not too difficult to vote illegally. It's an interesting paradigm. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, you don't find incidents of voter fraud if you don't look for them. That's a guarantee that you'll minimize the incidence of voter fraud if you just ignore examples of them. If you pay no mind to the cleanliness of your voter rolls, for example. And it's worth noting, a backdrop here, that the Trump administration has sued 24 states in this country for failure to comply with DOJ requests for voter rolls for the purpose of ensuring accuracy. Like, removing dead people in this country illegally. Let's cross-check our databases, shall we? That seems right and proper. Mm-hmm. Brian in Glenview.
Yes, I would like to add that if you want to save the country, we need a law that, like the president has to be born in America, the congressmen and senators need to be born in the United States, too. It would get rid of the Rashida Tlaibs and the Ilhan Omars and
well, that would require amending the Constitution. Thanks for the call, Brian. But I suppose we could do that. John in Lincolnwood.
Oh, good morning, Dan. I got a story for you. I just voted proudly for Ted Dabrowski.
Probably?
And,
you probably did, or you did?
No, I did. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's horrible. wrong. No, I did vote for Ted, but the whole thing was the guy who said, you have to sign here so that we know who you are. I'm like, wouldn't you want to ask for ID? He goes, well, we don't need to. A signature is good enough. And I'm like, anybody can copy a signature, sir. Why don't you ask for my ID? And then he did. And then the jerk looked at the picture and go, is that really you? I go, no, it's my mom. And then, you'll love this even more. Wait, you'll love it even more. I went to the computer ballot. It printed my ballot after I was done, and it had toner residue on it. And I'm like, this is not going to go through. And then the kid said, can you scan it? And I'm like, yeah, it's not going to go through. And it didn't. And then I tried it like 3 times. I'm like, it's not going through. And then the jerk who asked me, about the ID, he says, I want you to put it in this vault thing. I'm like, what vault thing? What is this going to do? He goes, we're going to scan it later. I'm like, sir, it won't scan. I'm like, no, you know what? Rip this up. I want a paper ballot. You're not going to put it in some vault thing and then throw it out. No. So the kid's just like, yeah, sir, here, just take which one do you need? I'm like, Republican ballot. And he's like, here you go. And here's a pen. And I did a paper ballot, and that scanned perfectly. So all I'm trying to say here is, don't let these people manipulate you at the voting thing. You have rights, and, God bless you and your show. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for the call, John. Just a couple of texts. They're still asking about information about races. I did want to mention Senate race. My choice is Don Tracy, for those inquiring. Also, one other race I did want to mention, since we had a former DuPage County Sheriff call in at the bottom of the hour. I forgot to add that actually there's a Republican primary to replace Mendrick for DuPage County Sheriff, and the candidate there is Sean Noonan, for those who live in DuPage County. And that's not a close call either, even though Mendrick's supporting the other guy. Maybe because Mendrick is supporting the other guy, actually, is a better way to say it. But Sean Noonan for DuPage County Sheriff, no question. Owen, Willowbrook.
Hi, Dan. On the way to vote for Dabrowski now, but the thing about Thune thinking that, if we invoke getting rid of the filibuster, then the Democrats will do it in the future. Well, the Democrats are so far left, that has nothing to do with what they're going to do in the future if they ever get power. I just don't buy the fact. I don't know what Thune is smoking, because all you have to do is look at the past and how the Democrats use lawfare to go after everybody. They're so radical. Whatever the Republicans do will not have an effect on what the Democrats will do in the future.
Thanks for the call, Owen. Just a little bit more color on this and how this has proceeded. Cleta Mitchell, a great election attorney we've heard on the show many times, she provided an update on the SAVE Act as well, just like Mike Lee. She was a little bit more pointed than Mike Lee about Leader Thune and how this has moved, because, Mike Lee is trying to play nice in caucus to get everybody together, including Thune. But this is Cleta Mitchell's update, and she knows. So Thune announced he is putting the SAVE Act on the floor, and he's not immediately moving for cloture, which would instantly kill the bill. Same thing you heard from Lee. That was the original plan until this is Cleta Mitchell now. That was the original plan, immediately moving for cloture. And this is all the skepticism and, I can call for vote, but it's not going to go well, sort of vibe you were getting from Thune. So the original plan was to call for cloture, and the bill would have been killed. But Cleta Mitchell writes, until Leader Thune ran into the buzzsaw of the American people going berserk about that idea and the determination of Trump to change that plan. This is what is now going to happen this week. Thune will move today to consider the House message on the SAVE Act, and the Senate will start the consideration of the bill. There will be a series of procedural motions, don't want to get into those details, which will get the bill to the floor for consideration. None are cloture, none will require 60 votes. Then Thune will fill the amendment tree. There will be consideration of amendments. This will be similar to what is sometimes called a vote-a-rama in the Senate. There's going to be debate, organized so Thune maintains control of the floor. All of this is a sea change from a week ago, or even since last Tuesday, writes Cleta Mitchell. It is not a talking filibuster. This is the hybrid that Mike Lee was referencing. But it's ongoing debate and consideration. The Senate may leave the bill and go to other matters and then return, and that could happen more than once. That's about all I can say. Senate procedures are arcane and hard to follow. What is most important to know is this particular next phase is a win. It's a big step. It's a result of people rising up and slamming the Senate last week. We, the people, were so angry at Thune after his remarks last week, throwing in the towel without a fight. There was such an avalanche of calls and social media posts attacking Thune and the Senate Republicans that it really shook up the Senate leadership, penetrated their hard heads, and they finally started listening. That's all thanks to you, the people of the country. Cleta Mitchell goes on to say, it's also a testament to Mike Lee, Chip Roy, Rick Scott, Ron Johnson, Rob Borden, who works for Lee, plus several more stalwart senators and House members committed to getting this bill passed. And it was especially a result of the amazing outpouring of public pressure on the senators. Pressure works. That's what politicians respond to. Pressure. The people stepped up, hammered the Senate, burning up senators' phone lines, emails, and X accounts, demanding passage of the SAVE Act. We now have to make sure the Senate stays on the bill long enough to refocus that same anger and angst against the Dems. They, after all, are our real opponents. So there's a lot of work to do in the next phase, but now we can do it thanks to the pressure, the public pressure that was applied to Thune and Senate leadership. Really nice distillation from Cleta Mitchell there. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to Ask Hasslis.
I thought you didn't have any employees.
That's right. Our showrooms are employee-free.
But you still answer the phone?
Of course. Order Sealy Posturepedic and Beauty Rest mattresses by phone, online, or at our in-store kiosk.
No employees.
Saves you money. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king.
Keep this up and you'll be named Non-Employee of the Month.
Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasslis.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, bottom of the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to talk to Jed Babin. We'll update all things Iran-related. But at 8:08, Georgetown law professor Randy Barnett has got a new book out, Felony Review, Tales of True Crime and Corruption in Chicago. Corruption in Chicago, you don't say. This will be fun. Professor Randy Barnett at 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Iran keeps firing back after more leaders are taken out. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Just a few moments ago, there were sirens sounding across central Israel. The air alert is still underway with some explosions in the distance from a suspected cluster munition launched by the Iranian regime.
That's Fox's Trey Yings, who also reports from Tel Aviv.
Ali Larijani, the secretary of Iran's National Security Council, was killed overnight. According to Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, Larijani was largely considered the de facto leader of Iran, responsible for much of the military structure. On Friday, he was walking through the streets of Iran, threatening the United States in live TV interviews. Today, he is dead.
Another Israeli strike killed an Iranian general, commander of the Basij forces, which were responsible for the crackdown on recent protests in Iran, killing thousands of civilians. Iran also went on the attack today, targeting the U.S. Embassy in Iraq and more oil facilities in Gulf countries as oil shipping remains mostly halted, prompting President Trump to try to build a coalition of countries to secure the Strait of Hormuz. Some NATO allies like Germany say no.
The European Union and its 27 member nations also saying this is not Europe's war.
Fox's Brian Yinnes also reports the president's putting pressure on Asian countries, too.
84% of crude oil and 83% of the liquefied natural gas that's moved through the strait goes to Asian markets, which is why China and India are reportedly back-channel negotiating with Iran so that their ships can continue to go through.
And oil prices, they're up about 2% this morning. And speaking of fuel, Cuba's very low on it. And Fox's Jonathan Savage reports.
Cuba's Ministry of Energy and Mines confirmed a complete disconnection of all electricity to the island's 11 million residents. Cuba has an aging energy grid, but the government in Havana also blames the blockade put in place by the United States. President Trump has warned of tariffs on any country that provides Cuba with oil.
America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 15 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Voters could find out before the night is over who the majority party candidates are for the U.S. Senate seat that's being vacated by Illinois U.S. Senator Dick Durbin. Greg Bishop reports.
Durbin, who's been in Congress since 1983, announced last year he was not running for re-election. 10 Democrats are running for the party's nomination. Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton is running. Governor J.B. Pritzker endorsed her candidacy, saying she broke through a barrier.
There's never before been a black lieutenant governor of the state of Illinois, and we would like to have the second black woman elected to the United States Senate in Juliana Stratton. She's the best person for the job.
Others running include U.S. Representative Raja Krishnamurthy, who recently told a union rally he's the right person for the job.
I just want to say to you this: you have my back and I will have your back.
Republican voters have 6 candidates to choose from Tuesday, including former Illinois Republican Chairman Don Tracy, attorney Jeannie Evans, and commentator Pamela Denise Long, among others. I'm Greg Bishop.
The polls are open here in Chicago until 7 o'clock tonight. If you're planning to cast your vote by mail, it must be postmarked by midnight tonight. But keep in mind, the Illinois Attorney General's office has announced with recent postmark changes that ballots that are dropped off at a Postal Service retail location may not be postmarked until 1 or 2 days later, which would disqualify that ballot. Ballots properly postmarked can be counted up to 2 weeks after Election Day. Nearly 70 people signed up to address city officials at a city council meeting in Joliet last night. Residents say they're concerned about the possibility of having the state's largest data center built in their town. Should the data center be approved, the new facility could be up and running within 4 years. This report is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and The Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but it's time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Taylor Riggs, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Iran continues to attack oil infrastructure in the Middle East, and that has oil prices trading about 3% higher this morning. But White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett claims oil tankers are now starting to go through the vital Strait of Hormuz. There's more pain at the pump. Gas prices are up again, another 8 cents a gallon. Federal Reserve policymakers will gather today to assess the economy, but the Open Market Committee not expected to cut interest rates. And Amazon launching faster delivery options in certain cities across the country, but like anything, it will cost you. 1-hour delivery now available in some places, $9.99 for Prime members, $19.99 for non-members. The items available: household essentials, health and beauty aids, and over-the-counter medication. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Frank Lanza, invested in you.
Alex Marlow does see a legit scandal.
I'm kind of amazed by this scandal that has rocked the Department of Homeland Security. Kristi Noem is out. I saw this. I was aware of it, but I have to admit, and this is a big admission, I did not do a deep dive on it. And I have in the last 24 hours, and it is shocking. It is a legitimate scandal.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait, and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know.
At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker and my new co-host, Amy Jacobson, on AM 560. We wanted you to know that we have a special show every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. here on AM 560, The Answer. It is a Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker and Amy Jacobson. It's every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. 2-hour show, 2-hour radio extravaganza. Amy, we're going to tantalize the listening public and the listening private with all kinds of retirement planning information. So tune in at AM 560 Sunday mornings at 7 a.m.
Shh, here it comes. Surprise! The people above your catering business are doing major construction, and the drilling is only during business hours. So loud!
Progressive knows small business owners usually don't like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting personalized discounts on a commercial auto quote with Progressive.
Also, that isn't powdered sugar on the floor. It's plaster from your ceiling.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-809-7171. That's 800-809-7171.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 17 in, 29 out on the Edens. From Lake Cook to Montrose, the Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange is 49 minutes, but outbound is 57. Inbound express lane stop and go from the Edens to Ohio Street, 43 in, 30 out on the Ike from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound, there's a crash at Western Avenue. You got 51 minutes inbound on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 33. 24 in on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 11. The Bishop Ford is jammed from the Stony Island feeder inbound to the Dan Ryan. Stop and go delays northbound Lakeshore Drive from Foster Avenue to Hollywood Avenue. And Route 53 is solid northbound from the Jane Addams to Kirchhoff Road with repair work. This report is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be very cold with some sunshine peeking through. The high will reach 24 degrees. Tonight, expect overcast skies and cold temperatures. There will be on and off snow later on with accumulation of a coating to an inch. The low will be around 21 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I'm anxious to pick up this book. It, I don't know. For some reason, it harkens back to When Corruption Was King, Bill Cooley's book. But I think Randy Barnett's is going to be a little bit more fact-based since he was on the right side of the law back in the 70s and early 80s as a young assistant state's attorney. Felony Review is the name of the book. The author, Randy Barnett, a Chicagoan, I think Cal City, if I'm remembering correctly. And I know he's a big shot at Georgetown Law, but after he was a prosecutor, he was a law professor for a time at Kent. And then I think he went out east and wound up at Georgetown. Randy Barnett's a Georgetown law professor. As I said, he's the author of Felony Review, Tales of True Crime and Corruption in Chicago. Professor Barnett, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Dan. And I knew the Cooley brothers. I knew the Cooley that went bad, and I worked for Dennis Cooley, his brother,
oh, really?
Who was a Cook County State's attorney, and he's actually in my book.
Of course, everybody knows everybody. We don't want nobody sent. Yeah. So did you hang out? What was the Governor's Row? Did you hang out with like them and Fred Rohde?
I didn't hang out with them. Dennis was my senior to me, and I watched him try cases at 26th Street when I was working there before I went out into felony review and misdemeanor branch courts and all that. But then he became my supervisor at Branch 64, which was the auto theft court at 11th and State. So I got to know him pretty well.
Well, I mean, give us so. I mean, you know, from Cal City, hard scrabble, Sin City upbringing. Maybe it wasn't that hard scrabble, but that makes it more fairy tale-ish. But you know, Northwestern, Harvard Law. You got the pedigree, but you come back and you're a Cook County prosecutor. Why?
Well, because when I was 10 years old, a television show came on called The Defenders, starring E.G. Marshall and Robert Reed as a father-son criminal defense team in New York. Filmed on location, very gritty, very realistic, and it made me want to be a lawyer. And then when I went on to law school, and I was fortunate enough to get into Harvard Law School after going to Northwestern, all the pressure or impetus is to become a big law firm lawyer and get a fancy clerkship. And my response was to my fellow classmates who said I would be wasting my degree by being a Cook County prosecutor, that I went to law school to do what I wanted to do, not to do what I didn't want to do. And I want to be a criminal lawyer. To me, being a criminal trial lawyer is what being a lawyer meant. And I got to be one at peak Cook County in a number of ways. And it was the most unforgettable experience of my life, which is why I decided to write Felony Review, Tales of True Crime and Corruption in Chicago, to kind of tell everybody what the real criminal justice system is like in Chicago and elsewhere.
So peak Cook County, so develop that for us, the time that you spent in the state's attorney's office.
Well, it was peak Cook County in two different ways. One is it was peak Cook County State's Attorney's Office because our office was extraordinarily professional and gifted. The people that were my supervisors were really, really good trial lawyers and also honest. I was very cynical going into the criminal justice system because my dad was a businessman on the south side of Chicago, and he schooled me in what the Democratic machine was like in Chicago and what it was all like there. And so I went in with my eyes wide open, and if anything, I was sort of surprised that the prosecutor's office was completely honest and square and straight, whereas the rest of Cook County Circuit Court had problems. And that's the second peak Cook County. The second peak Cook County was peak Cook County corruption, which was capped off, as you know, by Operation Greylord and some other sting operations that were happening at the same time, which I talk about in the book, and it actually affected me in ways that kind of provide a surprise ending in the book. I didn't know about Operation Greylord, but I was connected to it indirectly. And so in my book, I name names because all the people I name were ultimately charged and prosecuted for what they did.
I mean, for people who don't recall or haven't read the history, didn't live through it or haven't read the history, I mean, that was. I mean, when you include all the trials, that operation went on for nearly the entirety of the 80s, and nabbed some 90 public officials, both practicing lawyers as well as sitting judges. I mean, it was a massive sting operation by the FBI and the IRS that really shook the Cook County Circuit Court system to its core, didn't it?
Absolutely. And it was happening during the second half of my tenure as a prosecutor. Unbeknownst to me, it was only revealed after I was a professor at Chicago Cat. But it actually was affecting me in ways I didn't realize while I was a prosecutor. And it was amazing. It was Christmas. Greylord was Christmas time for those of us who had to deal with these corrupt judges. And who all had a feeling of immunity that nothing would ever happen to them because they basically ran the system. And our job was to try to mitigate whatever damage they could do, but there was no way we were going to really challenge the system itself. There's no way we could as individual prosecutors. However, all the people who I knew to be dirty all went down, except for one guy who I can also name because he's deceased, who was a corrupt lawyer that fixed a case out from under me and ended up representing all these defendants in federal court. And he ultimately was never charged.
And so some of the high-profile names, Richard Lefevre would be at the top of that list. State Representative Jimmy DeLeo at the time. There were cops charged. There were judges. I mean, it was expansive, and it really was.
Lefevre was a different investigation because that was a probe of traffic court, which was different than Greylord, which was about the regular courts, the misdemeanor branch courts, etc. But here's the point.
Okay, conflated.
There were multiple investigations, and I do think it shows that, those of us who like states and are skeptical of the federal government, it shows that there is a purpose to have a federal government, to ride herd on states and to ride herd on one-party towns like Chicago, which are, corrupt in many different ways.
Well, and that's also where federal prosecutors like Dan Webb and Anton Valukas made their bones, wasn't it?
Absolutely. But it was Bernie Carey, who was the Republican state's attorney,
right,
who went to the feds and helped generate this investigation in the first place and contributed resources to the federal investigation. And he's a former FBI. He was a former FBI agent when he came into the office, served 2 terms, and was defeated halfway through my tenure there, or 3 years into my tenure there, by Richard Daley.
So when you talk about, you were involved in Greylord, unbeknownst to you, give us some color on that.
Well, it kind of provides the surprise ending of the book. I don't want to give away.
All right, you don't spoiler it. Yeah, right. Okay.
No spoiler. But I do want to talk about felony review, what the title of the book is about, which is a felony review unit in Chicago, which, Dan, you probably know all about.
Yeah.
But in fact is relatively unique to Chicago, and that is Chicago police officers can't bring felony charges against an individual without the sign-off of a Cook County state's attorney, an assistant state's attorney. And that meant the creation of a full-time unit who had offices in the police stations. You didn't go to court. You worked in the police stations. You had your own squad car. And whenever the cops were ready to charge somebody or they needed your help on an investigation, you'd get in your car and go to the district or the area headquarters where they were. And you would assist by interviewing them, interviewing the witnesses, and if possible, interviewing the suspect and getting a confession if possible. And so for 9 months, I served on that unit. And that's where I really, really learned. I was really able to see the whole underbelly of the criminal justice system up close in ways that trial lawyers really never get to see.
So what do you think? I mean, because you were still in Chicago when this was becoming public and prosecutions were taking place, as you mentioned, at Kent as a law professor. So what do you think the sort of, with perspective now, the long-standing fallout from Greylord in that time period was for the state's attorney's office and the Cook County justice system writ large?
Well, it's hard for me to say because I left the criminal justice system. Then I left Chicago in the 90s to go to Boston University before going to Georgetown. So yeah. I don't have firsthand experience with what the system is like now. But, most of my fellow prosecutors who were excellent prosecutors, many of them went on to be circuit court judges now, and some of them are nearing retirement age. And so I do think it reformed the entire circuit court of Cook County. I'm not saying there's no corruption, but it wasn't like open season for corruption back then. And the kind of corruption that was always more pervasive and probably still exists is it's who you know corruption, not the money payoffs, which is what Greylord was, but do you know who I am kind of corruption. And of course that exists everywhere, not just in Chicago. And I'm sure that continues to exist as well.
Yeah, well, and also too, I mean, this is layering in something that's more recent, but the identitarian politics that infected that office, most notably under Kim Foxx, where felony review will okay felony charges for someone who throws a big gulp on Kim Foxx, but will not okay felony charges for somebody who's a multiple-time loser who commits a crime with a gun, depending on, their identity characteristics. And that's really something that I think that there's a little bit of a turning away from that now, a little bit. But for 8 years, that was really the paradigm in Cook County, much to the decline in public safety.
Well, the decline of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office is a tragedy. And I watched that from afar in great distress, because we were so professional. We were so proud. We had such swagger in doing our job. I mean, O.J. Simpson would have been guilty if my supervisors had tried that case, Bill Kunkel and Mike Ficcaro. If they had tried that case, he would have gone down the way John Gacy went down and the way Henry Brisbane, the I-57 murderer, went down. And then what happened after that, and it wasn't under Rich Daley, who was a good prosecutor, a good state's attorney before he ran for mayor. Although it got a little more political near the end of his tenure as well. But what happened after that is just such a tragedy for Cook County and for good governance. And in fact, coincidentally, one of the people that ran against Kim Foxx, I think it was Kim Foxx, or maybe he ran against the successor, the person who ultimately got the job after her. Pat O'Brien was somebody I tried a jury trial in front with when he and I were both prosecutors together. And I mention him in the book, and I talk about what his campaign was about, but he lost. And unfortunately, the state's attorney's office declined to the point where their top prosecutors, including their very top assistant, left that office in protest over the politicization of prosecutions in Cook County.
Now, I mean, you were there when violent crime was a real issue. It's always been, but I mean, there was, compared to just the aggregate stats today, the 70s and 80s was worse in many respects. Now, it was also a much more populous city than it is today. But I wonder the conversations that we're having today about repeat violent offenders, the habitual violent criminals that we can't seem to get removed from society, that are turned back out to prey on people again and again. Most recently, the highest profile case that went international was, of course, that terrible incident where that young woman was burned on CTA, on the L, by somebody who had 72 prior arrests and all sorts of jail time and so forth. I just wonder what the culture was like at that time in terms of the approach to saying, like, it's a small percentage of people that commit a preponderance of these violent crimes, and we really need to focus upon them. You hear some of that rhetoric in big cities these days, but with a lot of these Soros-funded prosecutors, including the one we had in Kim Foxx, that simply hasn't been the case.
Well, our office was very tough on crime. We were not tough on first possession drug crimes, and that's one of the reasons why my boss lost to Rich Daley, who ran as a tough on drugs candidate. But we were very, very tough on all other crimes. Now, here's the thing I noticed when I was in the system, and I don't think it's changed very much, and that is two things. Number one, our juvenile court justice system trains criminals. It trains, because it teaches juveniles that nothing will happen to them until they become adults, and then they're surprised when something does happen to them because they were used to walking out of the system without even a slap on the wrist. And our misdemeanor court system has never treated misdemeanors the way I think with the seriousness it should have. I think if misdemeanors are crimes, they're punishable up to a year in jail, and if we treated misdemeanors more seriously, I think we'd have fewer felonies. But that's not the way things are set up across the country, where those high volume courts, dispose of people, very, very easily and readily, and wait until they really wait until they commit a murder before they take it very seriously.
And the posture towards the street gangs. I mean, certainly back when you were there, it was more organized. There was more of a clear power structure because we're talking about the days of, Jeff Fort. But I wonder how, again, like the thinking, the approach, the strategy to deal with these ongoing violent criminal organizations like some of the bigger street gangs in Chicago.
Well, Felony Review opens with a confession I took from a member of the Latin Kings who he and his three fellow Latin Kings took three guys who came from the suburbs to buy marijuana out into an alley and butchered them to death, stabbed them to death one after the other. Because the Latin Kings did not have any marijuana, but one of these kids from the suburbs thought that they just didn't trust him. So he tried to ingratiate him with telling stories about all the hits he'd been on with the Latin Eagles, not realizing he was talking to the Latin Kings. Once he opened his mouth, the Latin Kings said, "Oh, wait a second, we can find marijuana. We know where there's marijuana. Come with us." And that's when they took him into an alley and stabbed them to death, one after the other. The book opens with a very chilling confession taken from one of those suspects, one of those defendants. And then the chilling words that he told me after I got finished with the entire written confession, and I asked him if he would do it all over again. And he said, well, if it was a sure thing. And I said, well, there's no such thing as a sure thing. And he said, yeah, but a lot of the Latin Kings have killed people without getting caught. And I said, yeah, but you were caught. Would you do it again? And he said, well, I'd have killed the first one for sure. I'm not sure about the other two. The first one is the guy that was mouthing off. Mm-hmm. So that's what I had to deal with. We didn't deal with organized crime in the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, but we did deal with gang crime. And many of the cases I was involved with, such as that one, involved gangs. But But Juan Caballero, the guy that was convicted and sentenced to death as a result of that massacre that he participated in, he had a sentence commuted by the governor, Governor Ryan, who was trying to curry favor with the establishment before he got prosecuted. And so Juan Caballero's his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment.
Yeah, well, another different kind of corruption story in Chicago. Randy Barnett, Georgetown law professor, author of the new book released today, Felony Review: Tales of True Crime and Corruption in Chicago. Felony Review is the book. Professor Randy Barnett is the author. Pick it up. Professor Barnett, thanks for joining us.
Everybody in Chicago needs to buy this book. And if they read it, that's even better.
Very good. At least buy it, minimum.
Yeah, but buy the book. Buy the book is all I'm asking.
Professor Barnett, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Okay, take care, Dan.
Take care. And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
And now it's time for the Cat's Corner.
We need more common sense in Washington. Running a country is like running a business. Well, our current president, President Trump, knows how to run a business. And guess what? He's running a country like that. He makes common sense decisions. If we're going to send money to the Ukraine to help them, why not have the mineral rights? Why not have the oil rights on some of the other countries? Let's have common sense. We want our country, the United States of America, to be number one. Last week, criticized Iran for attacking its neighbors because some of their neighbors are also China's partners. But what President Trump, as a businessman, has done is unify the Arab world, unify Europe. Finally, no major wars in the future. Let's have common sense and have common sense prevail. I'm John Catsimatidis, and that's your Cat's Corner.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief, feeling younger, jumping back into life full speed, and it didn't happen in an operating room. I know this because I've met some of the patients. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science. Treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon. Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea is back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. So don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics' regenerative treatments, and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation are free. Call now, 312-827-6261. That number is 312-827-6261. Once more, give QC Kinetics a call at 312-827-6261.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. During cold and flu season, a nearby cough or sneeze can trigger a familiar dread, that helpless feeling of being defenseless against an invisible viral threat. But what if you could change the narrative? What if you could fortify your body's natural defenses? This is why I developed Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail designed to give your body the upper hand. Virogo is more than a supplement. It's a revolutionary liquid formula packed with 23 powerful natural nutraceuticals for rapid absorption. This unique blend is scientifically crafted to help build resilience and keep you protected. Don't just hope for good health. Make it happen with Virogo. Virogo and Maha, making America healthy again.
Virogo. Order your bottle today online at myvirogo.com and use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. myvirogo.com. Coupon code IMMUNE.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute, we've helped thousands find real relief without surgery. Our non-surgical, FDA-approved treatment uses hyaluronic gel that acts like a cushion between the bones in your knee. As we age, the cushion naturally wears down, causing painful grinding and popping. But our gel restores that cushion, allowing your knee to move smoothly again. Ready to stop the pain and get back to doing what you love? Call the Joint Relief Institute at 708-315-6800. Again, that's 708-315-6800.
Move better, live better with JRI.
Move better and live better with JRI. Contact the Joint Relief Institute today and get back to doing what you love. Call 708-315-6800 or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. Call 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 8:38, we'll update the state of play in Iran with respect to the Strait of Hormuz, the Houthis, the Chinese Communist Party, the killings of two senior Iranian officials, as per Israel reporting this morning. Tackle all that with Jed Babin at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 16 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A fire on Monday has left one person injured. According to reports, a firefighter battling the blaze was transported to an area hospital in serious to critical condition with burns throughout his body after he fell from the first floor to the basement. Fire officials say he was quickly rescued and transported to the hospital for treatment. Over 100 firefighters battled that blaze, which broke out around 11:30 yesterday morning at an apartment complex in the Rogers Park neighborhood. Cause of the blaze is under investigation. The family of late civil rights leader Jesse Jackson is taking back an endorsement of a U.S. Senate candidate. Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton's campaign announced on Saturday that the founder of Rainbow Push personally endorsed her before he passed away in February. Jackson's son, Yusef, took back the endorsement yesterday, saying his father never finalized his picks before his death and that a draft sample ballot was released without authorization. Meanwhile, Stratton and Senate candidate Congresswoman Robin Kelly are using past endorsements from former President Barack Obama in campaign ads. News is a service of American Beam and Steel Structural Repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings wonders if we'll see support.
Iran has fired ballistic missiles into a German military base in Jordan. So Iran continues to fire at its neighbors. You know, something I've been wondering, are we having any expectation that other countries are going to eventually get fed up with this and join in the military attacks against Iran?
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the Retirement Tax Bill Calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tim, for more than 25 years, you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind, which has to be rewarding. Doing it a long time. You've got a lot of success stories on a daily basis, I'm sure. Can you give our listeners an example of a family that you've helped out recently that comes to mind?
We had a 65-year-old call who had been listening to your show, and he called us and he said, he wanted to know, do I have enough assets? I'm really tired of working. I'm burnt out, etc. And he didn't know if he had the resources, and he didn't have the knowledge to get to the answer of that. So we helped him prepare a Protect and Grow blueprint. And by doing that, we helped position his money for income and cut back on the risks that they had in their current portfolio.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell him I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 15 in, 30 out on the Edens from Lake Hook to Montrose. The Kennedy is 44 inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound is 51. Your stop and go inbound in the express lanes between the Edens and Ohio Street. 44 in, 35 out on the Ike from Wolf to the old post office. You're doing better on the Stevenson. 40 minutes inbound from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 31. 26 inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Just 11 on the outbound side, but stop and go inbound on the express lanes between Garfield Boulevard and 31st Street. Jam-packed northbound on Lakeshore Drive between Foster Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is sponsored by Capital One. What's in your wallet? Capital One offers no fees or minimums on checking accounts, and most Capital One cafes are open 7 days a week to assist with your banking needs. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One, NA, member FDIC. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be very cold with some sunshine peeking through. The high will reach 24. Tonight, expect overcast skies and cold temperatures with intermittent snow later on, accumulating between a coating to an inch. The low will be around 21. Tomorrow morning may see a few flurries, but overall it will be mostly cloudy and not as chilly with the high of 42. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Before we get to the politicos talking, let's go back to CENTCOM Commander Admiral Bradley Cooper for an update on military operations in the Middle East. Give us the Joe Friday version of what's happening. Admiral Bradley Cooper providing this update yesterday. Start with 6,000 some combat flights and the dismantling of Iran's defense industrial base.
For 16 days, we've delivered overwhelming firepower deep into Iran. This past Friday, U.S. forces executed a large-scale precision strike on Karg Island, destroying more than 90 Iranian military targets, including storage bunkers for naval mines and missiles and other military infrastructure. To date, our Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps aviators have collectively flown more than 6,000 combat flights, demonstrating the unmatched capability of America's joint force as we maintain air superiority over Iranian skies. We continue to remain centered on our military objectives. These are well-defined and include eliminating Iran's ballistic missiles, drones, and naval threats. It's one thing to defend by striking launchers and intercepting missiles and drones, but it's another thing to eliminate the wider manufacturing apparatus behind them. And we are doing that today. We've talked about it in concept.
And Cooper went on to detail how the strikes are delivering the goods.
U.S. and partner strikes are doing exactly what they are intended to do, deliver on very clear military objectives to eliminate Iran's ability to project power against Americans and against its neighbors. We're also zeroed in on dismantling Iran's decades-old threat to the free flow of commerce through the Strait of Hormuz. Through a combination of air, land, and maritime capabilities, we have successfully destroyed over 100 Iranian naval vessels, and we aren't done. We will continue to rapidly deplete Iran's ability to threaten freedom of navigation in and around the Strait of Hormuz.
With respect to the naval vessels, I mean, some of the reporting suggests they had about 110 naval vessels. So Admiral Cooper saying about more than 90% have been destroyed. And with respect to the Iranians' ability to retaliate?
Over the last 2 weeks, they have launched attacks on Oman, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Jordan, Cyprus, Turkey, Azerbaijan, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Iraq, Kuwait, and Bahrain. In each of these countries, they are deliberately attacking innocent civilians. They've done this more than 300 times, which demonstrates their true nature as a global leader of terror. In just the last few days, the Iranian regime launched a reckless attack against civilian neighborhoods in Tel Aviv with cluster bombs, an inherently indiscriminate type of munition. We join countries across the region in condemning this aggression, and we stand shoulder to shoulder with our partners in bolstering our own defenses.
But as to our partners, who are they? Trump is finding out. He had a good conversation with Macron, surprisingly, in terms of the French president's willingness to support the clearing of the Strait of Hormuz for maritime traffic, as you heard Admiral Cooper talking about.
Have you been speaking with the French President Macron about the coalition to reopen the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, I have spoken to him. He's been on a scale of 0 to 10. I'd say he's been an 8. Not perfect, but it's France.
Exactly. 8 out of 10 for the French is pretty good. As for the Allies, widely reported as not wanting to participate, the president said this.
We don't need anybody. We're the strongest nation in the world. We have the strongest military by far in the world. We don't need them. But it's interesting. I'm almost doing it in some cases, not because we need them, but because I want to find out how they react. Because I've been saying for years that if we ever did need them, they won't be there. Not all of them, but they won't be there. I was very surprised with the United Kingdom, because the United Kingdom, 2 weeks ago, I said, why don't you send some ships over? And he really didn't want to do it. I said, you don't want to do it. We've been with you. You're our oldest ally. And we spend a lot of money on, NATO and all of these things to protect you. I mean, we're protecting them. We're working with them on Ukraine. Ukraine's thousands of miles away, separated by a vast ocean. We don't have to do that, but we did it.
So this is a clarifying process. Who's with us when we ask for assistance and who is not. For more on all this, pleased to be joined by Jed Babin, former United States Deputy Undersecretary of Defense and contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator. Jed, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be with you.
So you heard Admiral Cooper's assessment of the military campaign, and you heard Trump's recounting of conversations with erstwhile Western allies. What do you make of the mix of those two things in terms of where this campaign stands at present?
Well, we're clearly bombing the hell out of the Iranians. We've sunk pretty much all of their Navy. We've destroyed about, I think the president said something like 7,000 targets. And, we're hitting both their missiles and bombs and aircraft as well as, their ability to produce more. So I think we're getting a lot of the job done. The problem I have, and the problem I think a lot of people are getting to see, is that what is our goal here? The president has not defined it. The president says, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but he hasn't really said whether we're going to change the regime, whether we're going to try to do anything no more. I think it'd be a huge, huge mistake for us to go in and try to do nation building again. That just never works. But I don't know where the president's going on this. And, we have to have not just an end point, but a goal. We need to know where we're trying to do, what we're trying to do.
Yeah, although, I have to say, he makes comments that sort of undermine clarity, like, it'll be over when I feel it in my bones, those sorts of things. But by the same token, he's still essentially adhering to the same timeline he talked about, and he is repeating this is going to be over soon. He's repeating that this is an excursion. There's no real rhetoric that speaks to a desire for nation building or even regime change. He talks about how many of the mullahs have been taken out, and apparently more this morning, including Ali Larijani. But he's not talking regime change or who he wants or we've identified people. And he's also declared victory about 3 times in the last week too. So I don't know. It seems like he's almost as impatient as some of his detractors.
Well, impatience is not a policy, and hope is not a policy. So we have to figure out just what we're trying to accomplish, and the president has not made that clear. I think he needs to get out and do an Oval Office speech which sets out the goals in Iran. It sets out what we're trying to accomplish and sets out, what the end point might be. Whether it's victory and whether it's not regime change, I think it would be an enormous mistake, having done what we've done, to not change the regime. But I don't think you can do that without ground troops. So there's a lot of things that go into this that really are critical to any policy decisions as to what we're going to actually try to do.
It strikes me that the resumption of maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is something that is unfinished, and that perhaps if and when that is finished, so will America's engagement. But on that, I wonder if it's more complicated than it's being described. A former energy advisor to Bush, Bob McAnally, was on 60 Minutes, and he said this about clearing the strait for traffic.
I've worked in the White House during an energy crisis. There are no policy solutions to a prolonged closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
You're saying there's not much a White House, a president can do to stop this bleeding.
You open up the toolkit, and the tools in there, the options range from marginal through symbolic to deeply unwise. Escorts are a sideshow. Strategic stock releases are a sideshow.
Gas tax holiday?
Gas tax holiday, sideshow. You got to restore the flow of the Strait of Hormuz.
Even if the White House, President Trump, declared an end of this war today, tomorrow, is there any guarantee that Iran would open up the strait and it's back to business as usual?
No guarantee. It's not like there's a big gate that swings open in front of the Hormuz and Iran locks the gate. So all Iran has to do is demonstrate every day, every other day, that it has the means and the ability to attack ships in the strait, and that will be enough.
What's your reaction to that, Judd?
All nonsense. The Strait of Hormuz is a side issue, a very small side issue. The question is whether we're going to actually change the regime in Iran, and if not, what we're going to do to try to build peace in spite of it. I just don't think we can build peace without destroying the regime in Iran, because they're going to, like Saddam Hussein did, like others have, like North Korea has, for example, they're going to go nuclear. They're going to try to arm themselves with nuclear weapons, whether or not we change. Well, if we change the regime, they won't do that, because we're going to change it to something that approaches democracy, at least generally. So we're going to have to do something that's going to change the peace equation in the Middle East. We've already done that by bombing Iran, Now we have to understand that if we don't change the regime, they're going to come back with nuclear power, with nuclear bombs.
Well, if we don't change the regime, do we take the governor off the strikes and take out the oil-producing targets on Karg Island, for example, and take out their essentially energy infrastructure, turn them into Cuba? So you've completely defanged the administration, and at least you're pressing out years for any sort of rebuild. If we can't get a regime change done or initiated by the people, with IRGC withdrawing essentially from massacring Iranians who would seek to overthrow the mullahs. I mean, is that a fallback position as a way to get out of this?
There's got to be a lot of ways to get out of it. Mr. Trump can just say, "Well, okay, we're done," and we're not
sure.
Again, if we are not going to change the regime, they are going to come back with nuclear weapons. So that's the choice. The choice in Karg Island is whether or not, and we probably have assured the Chinese that we won't interrupt their oil flow. We are probably, China takes about 90% of what comes out of Karg Island. And they're desperate for oil. They're desperate for energy. So we're probably assuring them that they're probably going to have some small perturbation, but we're not going to stop the flow of oil there.
Yeah, Besson basically said that on CNBC yesterday.
Yeah, so we're not going to do that. We're not going to change the equation there, but we have to get rid of the regime. We have to do it. It's that simple. If we're in for a penny, we're in for a pound. We need to get that done.
Well, if the status of the cardboard Ayatollah is unknown, it seems, and maybe he's hiding out with his boyfriend. I don't know, but even if the Nepo Ayatollah was taken out, that doesn't necessarily mean change the regime. That's then it's still next one up. I mean, like you said, how do you change the regime by killing your way through the senior leadership of of these Islamofascists? That's not possible, right? So, the only way is ground troops. It doesn't seem like there's any appetite for that, including from Trump.
Well, there shouldn't be. And again, we are not in the business of nation building, and it's hard to get in there and start doing, ground intervention without having the temptation of nation building. So it's going to be a very close call as to whether the president wants to actually go in and, change the regime, or if he wants to just, say, we declare victory and we're coming home, which is not going to be victory. So we have to do a lot of different things. Our allies are not going to support us. We're even the French, now that the Iranian Navy and Air Force has been pretty much decimated or pretty much destroyed, they're not going to come in and help us a lot. So none of the people who are wanting to help us or say they're wanting to help us are actually going to, except for the Israelis. The Israelis are our only ally in the area, probably our only reliable ally in the world. And if we don't manage to keep up the faith with them, we're not going to be able to rely on them either. So, this is the kind of thing that we need to do. We need to change the regime. And by doing so, we can bomb them forever. And, that may just be what it takes.
Well, that may be. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it's illegitimate to declare victory. I mean, when the bombing campaign last June of the nuclear facilities was a bombing campaign, we set them back, and that's what we wanted to do. We sent them a message. This is a more significant message, but the commitment was never regime change. It wasn't mentioned by anybody. In fact, quite the opposite, by Hegseth and others. And so we've set them back now that much more than we set them back last June. And so, and also we have, the Israelis in particular taking out a lot of their proxies. You have the Houthis that are staying on the sidelines, which speaks to perhaps their confidence as about Iran continuing to be a sponsor. So we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish here, and that's legitimate. We never said regime change.
Well, we've never accomplished what we needed to accomplish. That's the point. Whether you say regime change or not, we have to do this. We cannot back down now. We've gone through a bombing campaign. Hell, 13 or 14 United States servicemen have died in this conflict so far. Do we want to break faith with them? Do we want to not come out with a result that we can really stand up and say this changes the world? I don't think so.
Well, but you're saying we have to do a regime change, but you're saying we shouldn't send in troops, and regime change and troops are necessary for regime change. So which is it?
Well, I think you can go in with some troops. We've got 2 Marine Expeditionary Units either one on the way and one already there. And I think we could do that. We could get in there and we could get the hell out as quickly as the regime falls. The people of Iran have to understand that we're not going to be there forever, that we're not going to be there for more than a couple of weeks. And if we need to go in to change the regime, we need to do that because we can't break faith with the people who have already died.
Jed Babin, former United States Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator. Jed, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.
And thanks. And Jed joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Casey Klebeck, and I'm running for the United States Senate. Our country faces serious challenges: rising taxes, rising costs of food, housing, and health care. I'm running to change that with a bold agenda that puts working American first. My plan eliminates taxes on real estate, Social Security income, and retirement income. It removes taxes for students and young married couples, creates 5-year tax holiday for new small businesses, and delivers free prescription drugs for seniors, disabled Americans, and veterans. I'll take no salary. My seat will not be bought by lobbyists. My only client is you. I want to be your voice in Washington, fighting every day for lower taxes, secure borders, safe communities, a retirement you can count on, and keeping the promise of the American dream alive for the generations to come. Please vote for me on March 17. I'm Casey Klebeck, and I approve this message.
If stairs in your home are becoming difficult, there's a practical solution, and it doesn't have to come with pushy salespeople. Access provides dependable stair lifts designed to help you stay safely in the home you love. No gimmicks, no overselling, just honest guidance, quality equipment, and professional local installation. We'll explain your options, work within your budget, and let you decide what's right at your pace. For a straightforward, no-pressure, free in-home consultation, call 630-616-6249 or visit allaboutaccess.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, thanks for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. Back tomorrow with primary election results and obviously more discussions about the campaign in the Middle East. Appreciate all the calls and texts. Do pick up our friend Randy Barnett's book, Felony Review. At least buy it. You don't have to read it. It is now 9 o'clock in AM 560 WIN.
Iran loses more leaders. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and more Israeli airstrikes overnight.
Targeting the Iranian capital of Tehran, taking out top official Ali Larijani. Larijani served as the secretary to Iran's Supreme National Security Council, and he was largely seen as the de facto leader in Iran following the opening strikes of Operation Epic Fury.
Fox's Trey Yingst also reports from Tel Aviv another strike killed a general leading Iran's Basij forces.
And this is significant. Basij is the branch of the IRGC